Daily Rituals. Honoré de Balzac. Balzac drove himself relentlessly as a writer, motivated by enormous literary ambition, as well as a never ending string of creditors and endless cups of coffee. As Herbert J. Hunt has written, he engaged in orgies of work, punctuated by orgies of relaxation and pleasure. When Balzac was working, his writing schedule was brutal. He ate a light dinner at 6 p.m., then went to bed. At 1 a.m., he rose and sat down at his writing table for a 7 hour stretch of work. At 8 a.m., he allowed himself a 90-minute nap. Then, from 9:30 to 4 p.m., he resumed work, drinking cup after cup of black coffee. According to one estimate, he drank as many as 50 cups a day. By 4 p.m., Balzac took a walk, had a bath, and received visitors until 6 p.m., when the cycle started all over again. The days melt in my hand like ice in the sun, he wrote in 1830. I'm not living. I'm wearing myself out in a horrible fashion. But whether I die of work or something else, it's all the same. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you guys come in. Welcome to Bitcoin Talk Show. I was just reading a little bit of daily rituals about artists and how they work. I was interested in Balzac, even though I randomly flipped to him. Endless cups of coffee, 50 cups a day. That reminds me of something related to Bitcoin. Something about buying Bitcoin was with coffee. Let's see if we can figure that out today on Bitcoin Talk Show. My name is Thomas Hunt. Today is Friday, August 3rd, 2018. Let's see what happened today on Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin, at least according to Bitcoin Average, which averages several exchanges together, is down about 1%. With a last of 7,469, a high of 7,588, and a low of 7,291. That's $1 for 13,396 Satoshis. Checking in on other exchanges like Bitstamp, we see the price at 7,472. However, CoinMarketCap recently was showing the price of Bitcoin up 10%. We're not sure why this is going on. Now they're showing that it's up 11.75%. CoinMarketCap surveys several Bitcoin exchanges. Recently, I saw the price of this one at $43,000 a coin. Now it's at $20,000 a coin. I don't know the difference between these markets. Most of the reasonable markets that you've heard of seem to be in the 7,400 range. However, a few stick out at you at the 8,600 level, 8,100. Seems like a range, but the real outliers here are Bit4x, CoinX, and Big One, as well as Fcoin, all of which are reporting $20,000 a coin. Recently, I saw them as high as $43,000 a coin if we look at this old snapshot from just a few minutes ago. Several exchanges reporting $20,000 to $40,000 a coin, throwing off the values of coin market cap. Let's see, World Coin Index. Let's check another site. Let's see. World Coin Index is showing the price of Bitcoin steady at 7,480. People are reporting in the chat that the price of Bitcoin has spiked like crazy. However, please name the exchange. Currently, we are seeing the price spiking on strange exchanges like Bit4x, Coinbean, CoinX, and Big One, as well as Fcoin. I don't know what's going on with these exchanges. It is interesting here to see no fees. Several of them are no fees. One of them says transaction mining. One says unknown. No fees is always a bad sign for an exchange. We're also looking at the volume. Bit4x and BitMEX seem to have most of the volume. BitMEX, this makes sense. I've heard of them. They have futures and margin and so forth. These other sites, I just don't know. We are continuing to monitor CoinMarketCap, which now is reporting an 8% rise from Bitcoin, down from 10 or 11%. This appears to be based on some strange exchanges reporting triple or even 6 times the price of Bitcoin. We're going to keep an eye on this, but we don't have any more information for you right now. We're seeing additional strange things on CoinMarketCap as we try to take a look at the top 10 altcoins today. Ethereum up 7.5%, Ripple up 6%, Bitcoin Cash up 2.5%. Some strange new coin called VeChain, VE Chain, is in the top five for some reason, and it's down 89%. No idea what's going on there. It's brand new to me. EOS is up 10%, Stellar's even, Litecoin up 3.25%, Cardano up 5.5%, IOTA up 8%, roaring into the top 10, knocking out Tether, which is up 10%, sticking with the price of Bitcoin. Tron holding on down there in the 12th position, up 5%. We're going to keep an eye on these altcoin prices as well as the price of Bitcoin throughout this show. As always, you can support the World Crypto Network by donating Bitcoin. Whether it's up 10% or down 10%, Bitcoin still works great for donations. You can also donate any of the crazy altcoins accepted by Trezor in the QR codes down below. Thanks so much for supporting the World Crypto Network on Patreon, where 30 patrons are donating $232 a month to keep this show going. Meanwhile, the Mad Bitcoins Patreon, which had some drops lately, has recovered with 80 patrons donating $483 a month to keep this show alive. Very close to the $500 Patreon barrier on Mad Bitcoins. Our Tallycoin fundraiser is going up, up, up. There's no other way it could go. It's a fundraiser. Anyway, if you donate to the QR code on your screen right now, we have raised more than $142.95 towards our goal of $1 million. There's my toy falling over. That's right. We're 0% towards our goal of $1 million in Bitcoin to help spread the word about Bitcoin, because that's what we do. Yesterday, we talked about likes and how important they are. You guys came through with the likes. Let's check the results. Andy Hoffman interviewed Trace Mayer. It was a great interview. I watched it with you in the chat. It got 276 likes and it got 2,700 views. That lines up pretty good. Yesterday's Bitcoin talk show got 118 likes and it got about 1,000 views. The day before, we got 169 likes and 1,800 views. Then we got 70 likes and 965 views. So the like button really does work. The more you like an episode, the more people hear about it. So when you like this show, you're literally spreading the word about Bitcoin and this show. And we've got some Bitcoin elevator pitches ready to go for later if you guys want to talk about elevator pitches. But the top story of the day undoubtedly is it sounds like you're finally going to be able to get some coffee for your Bitcoin. And as the man with the Golden State Warriors hat here is dancing in front of his beautiful Starbucks, it seems like it's all happening. TechCrunch is reporting that Starbucks drops major hint at accepting Bitcoin. Back in May, reports surfaced that the New York Stock Exchange owner, Intercontinental Exchange, ICE, bad acronym, was developing a Bitcoin trading platform. This morning, it officially announced the creation of Backed, terrible name, a new company that will help trade and convert the best-known cryptocurrency to fiat money. As one might expect from a new company with close ties to the NYSE, Backed, terrible name, has enlisted some big names already, with much more pronounceable names, including backing from Microsoft, Starbucks, a character from Moby Dick, and BCG. Microsoft, for its part, will provide cloud infrastructure for the service. Ooh, clouds. Even more compelling, however, is the involvement of Starbucks. After all, the coffee giant has played an outsized role in helping mainstream mobile payments across the U.S. population. It's worked with Square, who accepts Bitcoin, and it just announced a deal with Alibaba in China for coffee deliveries. I almost said derivatives. The chain isn't always the first to adopt payment solutions, but its involvement goes a long ways towards legitimizing technologies amongst the public. If played right, this could be the push Bitcoin as a payment system needs for mainstream consumers here in the States. And TechCrunch, system is spelled with an E. It's not SYSTM. There's an E in there. You guys should read these things before you publish them. In a statement, Starbucks referred to itself as the flagship retailer involved in the project, hinting at the very real potential that the company is setting itself up to accept Bitcoin converted through the backed, terrible name, must be Klingon, system. As the flagship retailer, Starbucks will play a pivotal role in developing practical, trusted, and regulated applications for consumers to convert their digital assets into dollars for use at Starbucks. Ooh. As a leader in mobile pay to our more than 15 million Starbucks Rewards members, Starbucks is committed to innovation for expanding payment options for their customers. And again, it's pretty clear what's going on here. Starbucks is getting involved in Bitcoin. Amazon, eBay, Walmart. Everybody's got to be out there on the sidelines watching this saying, I wonder what will happen with Starbucks involved in Bitcoin. I wonder if we should get involved for Bitcoin. Hmm. Marco Santori, Bitcoin lawyer, especial, broke this news earlier, saying the NYSE slash ICE, terrible name, group officially announced that they're taking Coinbase, Bittrex, Gemini, and Polo head on. Starbucks announces they'll be accepting crypto. This is the Wall Street troll of the century, folks. Very excited, Marco Santori. I Am Nobad also broke the news saying ICE launches Backed, a cryptocurrency exchange and warehouse solution. A physically deliverable BTC contract starting November 18th, a custodial solution, i.e., warehouse. Microsoft and Starbucks signed on to use the new platform for payments and to accept Bitcoin. And that's right, there's no mention of B Crash in this article. They're clearly accepting Bitcoin. There's also no mention of the Lightning Network, however, that may be coming later. It sounds like the fees are low enough again. It sounds like everything turned out fine for Bitcoin. You guys should have stayed on the winning team. I can't believe you left just at our moment of victory. Intercontinental Exchange announces Backed, a terribly named global platform and ecosystem for digital assets. The press release itself. And we've got more good news coming in from Korea via I Am Joseph Young. Joseph writes, BitThumb, formerly Korea's biggest crypto exchange, is resuming deposits and withdrawals tomorrow. Upbit and GoPax, backed by Keiko and Shinhan Bank, are now leading the market. Regional governments support crypto. Good news from Korea. Meanwhile, Venezuelan users are reporting that Coinbase is showing this message when attempting to withdraw or send crypto. Please note that the users are not trying to buy or sell, but to transfer their coins. It says withdrawals not supported. Coinbase does not currently support withdrawals in your country. Subscribe to our blog to be notified when we add support for your country. There's also been reports of this showing up in Canada. Canada previously was able to withdraw Bitcoin, as was Venezuela. As always, when you keep your keys in Coinbase, you're trusting a third party. You can only trust that third party so far. They could always freeze your keys because when you keep your keys in Coinbase, your Bitcoin are not yours. They're theirs. We're a little more than 24 hours away from OK Exchange settlement. The largest liquidation in their history is still open, and we need a price point above $8,030 to clear. The current quarterly price is $7,826, a $7,660 spot price. Clawback policy will kick in if they fail to clear it. And that's right, last night at 1 a.m. Pacific time, the OK Exchange had a major trade go bad. and it looks like they're only one day away from the so-called Starbucks announcement, which might actually bring this trade back into line. Basically, a large trade was taken with the price of Bitcoin going long. I think they had the traders had the short side, the exchange had the long side. So the exchange is about to lose a very large bet because the price of Bitcoin is not high enough. As always, everyone on the side was saying, and we talked about this last night at the meetup, that as a bookie, you always take bets on both sides and you just make money off the VIG, off the percentage fee that you charge. OK Exchange obviously didn't know this. And as a bookie, they took a bet that was way too big on one side. Last night at 1 a.m., that bet closed. That liquidation was 2,337 Bitcoins. What the exchange said they're going to do in a very strange announcement is they said that they are going to, what's the word, socialize the losses. They're going to split the losses up with everyone who's on their exchange rather than the exchange taking it themselves and going out of business. As Joseph Young comments perfectly, he says, so when OK Exchange loses out in a trade, investors bail them out. And when OK Exchange wins in a trade, they simply win. There's a word for this. Bullshit. So um, I saw a funny advertisement on Amazon or on Facebook recommended by Amazon. It said, you like water and water bottles. Why not buy a drinking fountain? It's like, I'm not really in the market for a drinking fountain. Oh, it's a great drinking fountain. Web, we've noticed you're using an ad blocker. Me, I noticed you're using 32 tracking services. Et tu, Brute? Bitcoins, whales, bad trade leaves counterparties holding the bag. And this is just Bloomberg covering last night's news of the OK Exchange liquidation, the large position that they were unable to cover. Because OK Exchange has a socialized clawback policy for such instances, it will force future traders with unrealized gains this week to give up about 18% of their profits. Ooh. Not good. Not good. Let's see what this is. The New York Stock Exchange owner wants to bring Bitcoin to your 401k. Are crypto credit cards next? Once again, the media is back on our side. It was only a few days ago. Bitcoin was dead. Bitcoin was tulips. Bitcoin was never coming back. And now, Microsoft, Starbucks, and the company that owns the New York Stock Exchange are all into Bitcoin. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs from August 3rd, that's today, Bitcoin is never coming back. Good luck with that one. Bitcoin will continue to decline. The virtual currency meets none of the three definitions of usable money and makes up just 0.3% of global GDP. Give us time. Give us time. Google Trends shows interest in Bitcoin. And again, this happened on August 2nd, before the coffee news, before Starbucks. Google Trends is back. Uh, Compared to Trump, Taylor Swift, and the stock market. Yep, we didn't do too well against Trump, Taylor Swift, and the stock market. But if we can look at this chart down here, we see that perhaps it started to tick up a little. I'm not really seeing it in this article. Give it a few more days. Bitcoin price could fall below 6,000 if it fails to maintain the current support level. We'll have to check the price in a few minutes and see how we're doing. Bitcoin is still too unstable to become mainstream money, UBS says. Give us time. Give us time. Come on. Bitcoin eyes short-term bear market after 2-week lows. Here's some technical analysis. What I love about technical analysis is it doesn't take into account news that hasn't happened yet. It also can't show you the future of the chart, focusing instead only on the past. In the past, people were worried about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's close below the 100-day moving average on Thursday has confirmed a short-term bullish to bearish trend change and opened the doors to 7,130, the 50% Fibonacci retracement of the June 24th rally. A minor corrective rally to 7,600 cannot be ruled out, courtesy of the oversold conditions reported by the 4-hour chart. Only a convincing move above 8,000 or Starbucks accepting freaking Bitcoin would allow the bulls to dominate the proceedings. Or Starbucks accepting Bitcoin, that could do that. Got the globe ready. What does that mean? And look at this brand new graphic for Bitcoin Talk Show. Ooh, took me some time yesterday. Thanks again to Crypto Graffiti for letting us use his incredible artwork in the background. Shout out to Jesse from Kraken as well. And tonight in Las Vegas, we're going to be spreading the word about Bitcoin on Fremont Street. And I might be doing it by myself. So be sure to tune in. We'll be sure to do a live Periscope video on Twitter and record video for editing a video afterwards. But yeah, the things are getting pretty small at the meetup. We had these two people join today. I hope they're going to show up, but they don't look like real people, and I've never met them before. So if you're in the Las Vegas area and you'd like to hand out flyers on Bitcoin on Fremont Street, we're going to be doing it tonight at 7:30 at the Heart Attack Grill, home of that great cryptocurrency ATM sign. But let's just check the price one more time before we get into it. Let's see. Bitcoin average still showing that we're down a point. Bitcoin Satoshi still down a point. We're still 7,467 on Bitstamp. Let's see what's going on with CoinMarketCap. Okay, CoinMarketCap seems to have recovered. They're now showing us even again. Those crazy exchanges looks like they've been removed from the list. So Bit4X is gone. So looks like CoinMarketCap was experimenting with some crazy exchanges this morning. The crazy exchanges showed the price at 20K. Earlier, they showed the price at 43K. These crazy exchanges have now been removed, and the prices on CoinMarketCap have normalized. Once again, this is why you can't rely on a single source, even if it is CoinMarketCap. We're going to redo the top 10 altcoins as all of the numbers seem to have changed, likely because CoinMarketCap removed these strange exchanges. Ethereum is up 1%, Ripple's up 1.5%, Bitcoin Cash down 2.5%. Strange, Bizarro, VE Chain jumps into the top 5, down 89%. Never heard of it. EOS up 2%, Stellar down 2.5%, Litecoin is even, Cardano is even, IOTA up 3.5%, and Tron just can't seem to make it into the top 10, down 1%. Quick recheck of the Bitcoin prices, and now it's your chance to call in and to make Bitcoin Talk Show into a talk show. I'm unmuting the phone lines. No, I'm not. Google's hiding the controls. I'm fighting with Google. I'm unhiding the controls. Okay, I did it. Now we're ready. Let's see if I can get the world to spin a little. All right, we're spinning the world. We're going to start by joining us live is Coin Packets. How's it going, Coin Packets? What are your thoughts on the Starbucks news today?
Hey, what's up, Thomas? Hey, what's up, guys?
Welcome to the show.
Hey, World Crypto Network. Hey, yeah, I think the news is great, honestly. I mean, it's good that, corporations like Starbucks and Microsoft are sticking their necks out to actually start implementing payment solutions for Bitcoin. I'm kind of still reading up on this backed, group or exchange. I don't know if it's an exchange or like a custodial service that they're bringing to the table, but it looks good overall. It's good positive news. It shows that people are interested in Bitcoin and coffee are becoming a reality.
I know it's so funny considering the Bcashers who just had their 1-year anniversary of their unsuccessful attempt to become Bitcoin yesterday or 2 days ago. Now all of a sudden you can take Bitcoin for coffee at Starbucks. You don't need Bcash. It doesn't even sound like you need the Lightning Network. It sounds like the companies just want to accept the Bitcoin, which again, we've predicted this for a long time. A company like Starbucks probably pays a fortune on credit card fees. That's why they try things like the Starbucks reward card and getting you to pre-buy all of your Starbucks and getting you into their system. I imagine that they see Bitcoin as just another attempt to establish their own system, to establish a way where they can control all of your data. They know exactly who you are and what you're buying and when you're buying it, and they can, not pay fees. So they're probably going to save a fortune. Sounds really good for Starbucks. I wonder if their stock is up.
Yeah, but I wonder how they're going to do this because to do it at that type of scale, where let's say, the demand is high for people who have Bitcoin who want to buy coffee, you know, and they all hit their Starbucks up with their, I guess, their Bitcoin wallets, and they're like, hey, we're ready to buy coffee with Bitcoin. And at the current state, I don't think the network can handle that many transactions unless they're doing zero confirmations or something like that, or something foolish. It has to be something where they're doing something maybe similar to the Lightning Network. Maybe they have their own version that is backed group is doing. But I'm just
I'm not.
curious, like how they're doing that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think they're probably just going to roll the dice and see how it goes, just taking straight up Bitcoin. Maybe they think the fees are down enough, or maybe they'll take it like I'm saying, like $100 to load your Starbucks card, and they'll give you $120 worth of credit, something like that, just get you into the system. As far as the back system, it sounds a lot like BitPay. What Backed is going to do is they're going to collect all these Bitcoins, and at the end of the month, they're going to give Starbucks dollars, right? Because, end of the day, Starbucks needs dollars to pay all the people that they owe dollars to. So that's the way I envision it. I don't know if they'll like take Bitcoin with a limit, like only take $100 worth or only take $20, have some kind of a minimum limit or a maximum limit. I'm not sure how they'll do that or if it'll be a special card program. But mainly, I just think they're trying to leverage it and they're trying to get out in front of the credit card companies. And once we see one company do this, we're going to see all the other ones follow. This is one of those big news events where people will look back on it and they'll say, "Oh yeah, that Starbucks thing seemed like a small announcement." Then 2 or 3 weeks later, Amazon got in the game, and 3 weeks after that, eBay got in the game, and pretty soon the Microsoft Store accepted it in their shops, and Apple was smelling around. Although I think Apple won't do it; they have their own mobile pay product. Google won't do it. So we are starting to see who the new competitors in the future of payments are, and payments we think of payments not that much as just a normal consumer, but one time I was fortunate enough to go to the Money 2020 conference, and I saw really the scale of these payments companies and just how huge they all are, like American Express and I don't even remember the name, but there's a huge company that owns all the other companies, and they're the ones that bought Authy. Oh yeah, it's called First Data Corporation, and they are all about the payments. So again, they have a lot to lose if Bitcoin takes off and if Bitcoin takes over.
Yeah, yeah. I have some good network engineering experience. So I actually worked for one of those companies, and it's just interesting. I wonder what the blowback will be, for Starbucks and Microsoft, in terms of like a Mastercard or a Visa, hearing this type of news, because this has to take a hit, when it comes to them, a negative hit at least.
You got to think they'll want to open up negotiations. If there was a way they could roll this back and they could say, "Hey, we'll give you a 1% rebate if you slow down on that Bitcoin program," or "Hey, we could give you 2% off." But I think once a deal like this is made, once it's thrown out into the public, it's already over. You got to figure that Mastercard and Visa maybe knew about this, maybe got some kind of a heads up, or maybe an internal spy or something. But seems like very, very big news. And once again, like we've been saying, these governments, these corporations, they don't trust each other. They can't work together. They're not good people. They basically, in their heart, they believe that every person is going to screw them over and that everyone is just waiting to do wrong to them. And they use that to justify doing wrong to others. So once one of them has betrayed them and gone for Bitcoin, which you all know to be the cheapest and the cheaper option, the other ones are going to either compete with someone who's making things cheaper or change their minds and get on board. So I'm pretty bullish about this news this morning.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, the only thing is from the technical aspect, how are these guys going to actually scale it? Like, I do like your solution where they, maybe they preload a balance of Bitcoin just to open up, but that's basically almost. I kind of feel like they're just doing their own Lightning Network alternative in a sense.
They'd
Like
have
they
to.
won't have some.
I don't know that they're
Yeah.
technically capable of that, and I would start putting up a ton of red flags just because I wouldn't trust them to be able to pull something like that off. So yeah, wouldn't look good.
Yeah, we'll see.
But
That's a good story.
we are keeping the phone lines open here. I'm going to tell the people in the chat that they can Skype World Crypto Network. Maybe you can tell us, everyone, what your favorite coffee drink is. What do you plan to buy at Starbucks once they actually take Bitcoin, whatever form it may be? I haven't had coffee in a while. It's supposed to be bad for my stomach. I did start to get into it a little bit, but I was still into mostly those frou-frou coffee drinks with lots of chocolate and soy milk in it. What about you, Coin Packets? Are you an espresso man? What are you going to drink at Starbucks?
I just drink normal black coffee, but not often. Maybe like once a week. I can't drink coffee, you know, too often. It just gives me too much jitters. But
That's
yeah,
it. Yeah, that's a good way to be. I read that book by Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy, and he convinced me that I needed a coffee habit. He was like, I feel bad for people without a coffee habit because whenever I need to do work, I can kick it into another gear with coffee. And I tried that for a while, and I definitely was running around with tons of energy and feeling it. But then afterwards, I wouldn't feel too good, so had to give that up. But interesting idea from old Scott Adams there, getting a coffee habit for me.
yeah. I don't know what's up with building all these habits. Plus, you're just gonna build a tolerance to the drug in coffee, which is what caffeine. So you're just gonna need to consume even more of it just to get the same effect. But
Well,
yeah,
that's kind of the way about anything. There's this great but painful scene in Infinite Jest, this really big book, and it's all about addiction. Basically, it's about a tennis academy where the kids are addicted to tennis, and it's about a drug and alcohol rehab category where the people are addicted to everything. And it's also about this movie called Infinite Jest that once you start watching it, you could never stop watching. And in a normal society, I could tell you that, and you wouldn't watch the movie. You'd trust me. You'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But in our society, we're so addictive, the author's saying, that people can't stop watching the movie. People get curious about it. They're like, oh, it won't happen to me. And there's one guy that's trying to quit drugs, and he cleans out all of his stuff, and then he throws it all out, and then he goes back, and he just keeps going back. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas, this is Richard. I'm calling from Seattle.
All right, Seattle, Washington.
Now
Here it is. Look at the effects. Ooh.
oh, nice.
Hey, I have a question about how far Bitcoin can be divisible. I know 100 million units is what I've learned, but I keep hearing that it can be reduced quite a bit further than that. What do you know about that?
All right. It's a pretty technical question. As far as I know, at least the basics, Bitcoin goes down to 8 digits. That eighth digit down is called a Satoshi. And right now, I think that's the furthest down we can go. Certainly, I myself have speculated that it could go down further if necessary. However, I don't know if there's like a coding change that would have to be done. I don't know how complicated that is. I don't know if it's a deal breaker. So maybe someone in the chat knows. Can we go down further than 8 digits? But for right now, I'd say 8 digits is the current limit.
I think with the Lightning Network, you can because basically in the actual channel you can do whatever you want with the digits until you have to cement it in the blockchain again. But on with actual Bitcoin, if you're just transacting on the actual Bitcoin blockchain, it's one Satoshi and you can't go lower than that. As far as I
Right.
know.
I mean, that's my understanding too. So if that's the case, it makes me wonder about all the altcoins for different reasons. I mean, I hold some of them. I don't kind of believe it can't be possible they're all ripping everyone off. But if that's possible, then what would happen if an altcoin, in your opinion, did take off, but ultimately then their token really has no purpose if it can be run through the Bitcoin network? Can you see a way where the token holders can somehow be just merged? Does that make sense?
I'm not sure what the merge with the altcoin or merge with a different altcoin.
No, I mean, if we were just to eliminate the token in the altcoin, but kept the infrastructure and somehow just paid those people in Bitcoin and just it could continue as a company. So I don't know how they're going to keep going, but they're building interesting things. You know, if their token fails, there should be a way technically somehow to just merge their token into Bitcoin.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I know with the side chains, there's more of a possibility where you could roll back because the side chain is created with Bitcoin. So if you put one Bitcoin into the side chain, you could roll that back and still have one Bitcoin. With the altcoins, they're just like a totally different network. What you might be describing is something like if an altcoin had a utility token, like I don't know, you had to check out books from the library and you need a token for that, and then they run out of tokens because they checked out too many books. Or they want to just give up that token. I imagine they'll just ditch that token and start a new token and maybe pay you in that existing token, something like that. I think that's been done
Yeah,
before.
so
People
they'll
have
have to just be
abandoned altcoins.
the whole companies would have to just never mind.
Yeah, because they're not really
I don't know. I can't articulate it apparently.
yeah, they're not like connected to Bitcoin or anything. So
No, I know they're not. I wonder how they could become that, or if they would just have to be fail and then be replaced with somebody building on a side chain.
yeah, well, the main thing is it will be better someday when they are on side chains, because then they could be rolled back, at least with my current understanding of side chains. My current understanding of a side chain is that you actually put Bitcoin in to start the side chain. So at the very worst, you could say, well, this coin is worth, you know, that much of Bitcoin. You know, worst case scenario, they roll it back, and
Yeah,
Yeah, they would have to do
a bunch of
maybe
people get
some
burned
atomic
if things go
swaps.
that way, because that's going
Go
to
ahead.
set everything back.
oh yeah, it's definitely going to. Well, and that's why a lot of people are critical of the altcoins and don't think they're going to be as big as Bitcoin or anything like that. But yeah,
Yeah, maybe
Okay.
they could solve that through
So thank
atomic swaps or something. You know, just do atomic swaps. Maybe keep the whole UTXO set that exists in the altcoin. If they are using that, if they're not, then there's nothing that can be done probably. But if they have a state table, maybe have a snapshot of the UTXO set that they're gonna use going forward before they transition to Bitcoin. Maybe they can do something like that where they save that UTXO set and then maybe atomic swap, you know, the current token to Bitcoin, and then from there they continue with the Bitcoin's UTXOs. But yeah,
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't
That would be terrible.
like that. Is exactly what I was getting at. How, if that would be possible, you could transfer to a side chain if that's the way everything goes. Like I kind of hope it does. Then maybe we don't take such a big hit if there's some big implosion.
Yeah, that's the beauty with code. I mean, it's there, it's out in the open. Well, most of it's out in the open, and you can translate it, you know, to something else if you need to. But yeah,
Yeah. Interesting. Thanks a lot.
and thanks so much for the call, and give us a call anytime.
yeah, thanks.
Does anyone know how to drop pins in Google Earth? This is screwing up my plan here. Let's see. Click on the location. At the bottom center of the map should be a window with the lat long coordinates. Okay, got it. Mouse over these coordinates. They should go blue for a hyperlink. Not happening. Okay, anyone a Google Earth expert in the audience? I thought this would be relatively simple. I think it's because I'm using the in-browser version. It doesn't seem to have any features at all. Google, you're killing me on this one. This is going to be so cool. Oh, wait, my places. Here we go. Enable export bookmarks. Why is it not visible? Duplicate. Sure. See, I'm clicking this book button that I think is a bookmark. Right click, Apple Maps. You guys aren't being helpful. Let's see. Left click, right click, center click, click the longitude, latitude. This is not working. Come on, Google. This is going to be so cool. I was going to mark places on the map when people call in, and then the marks were going to show up on the map. And I was so close.
Yeah, seems like something you'll have to do outside of Google Maps.
This doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Do I have Earth on this computer? Search for Earth and it brings up Earth and human rights. That is not right. See, because
You've been doing a lot of human rights searches on Google then.
There it is. It's got me figured out.
Yeah, it got you all figured out.
I know
That was interesting, that tweet that you put out where the guy was like, he doesn't want to basically. Well, there was a site that was saying you can't have ad blocker or something like that.
Sure.
And basically, he was like, "Well, I don't want you to send my data to all these places." I forgot how exactly went, but I think that was the gist of it. Yeah, I was just reading this book that was really good. It was like Data. It's called Data and Goliath by it's like Bruce Schneier or something like that.
Sure.
And it just
Bruce Schneider. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've read Secrets and Lies he wrote, and he big security researcher guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's just amazing how much data these guys pull from normal folks like us. You know, it's just insane.
Oh yeah, they know it all.
But they won't let you put a stupid pin on the map.
That's what what it's feeling like. Yeah, people are saying right click and add a place. Basically, I'm getting the feeling that the Google Earth in the browser is incredibly crippled and doesn't have any features, which is absolutely shocking because it's old software. It's been out a long time. I used to use this when it was called Keynote, right? Oh, and now they're giving me Google Earth Pro on the desktop. They're probably going to want money to put a place mark in. All right, well, we're getting super complicated now, but I thought this was a good idea, and I'm going to carry it out. So here we are running yet another browser window.
Oh boy.
No, this is what I needed for more resource strain. Look at it grow. It's showing me all the things I don't want to see. Whoop. Okay, that's a little better. Still kind of ugly. Directions to here, directions from here. How about place a pin? Remember when you used to work Google? I remember that. Okay, so pin right here, Seattle. Okay, untitled.
There you go.
Should I title it?
No, that won't scale well.
Yeah, name pin. There it is. Boom. We had our first call from Seattle, and we have our first pin in the map. So we've worked out the calling system. We are now live again. I'm spinning the Earth. It's time for you to call again on Skype. So give us a call on Skype, World Crypto Network. We got this working now. We can spin the world any way we want, even destructively, and we're going to put you on the map. So don't be precise if you don't want us to be precise. I live at 2233 Long Beach Drive. Don't say that. But there it is. So let's check in with the price again. We had a bit of some excitement this morning with Coin Market Cap reporting that we'd gone up 10%, but that quickly went away. Hello, Mustafa. You're live on the World Crypto Network. Where are you calling from? Oh, technical difficulties. I think I'm unmuted. I think I got it. Oh, doesn't look like it worked. Well, Mustafa can give us a call back. His phone previously seemed to work fine. So, but as always, you can add us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. We're checking out Google Earth today, trying to do some tagging of the audience. We think it'd be super cool if we could just fly over this globe and you could see all the places where people have called, which right now is Seattle. So, uh, and look, you can turn off the pin. Oh, great job. Great job, Google Earth. They make this for us so hard. Hello, Mustafa. Let's try it again. You're live on the World Crypto Network.
Hey, how's it going? Actually, I was trying to call you from my PC.
Mixing it up a little.
Yeah. Apparently, I don't got the cables in the right holes or something like that.
So, where are you at today, Mustafa? We're adding things to the map today.
That's right. That's right. That's why I'm calling in. So you can go ahead and put my pin in Chicago.
Chicago. This is also going to be a test of whether or not I can spell places. But look, there it is. Woo! We're flying into Chicago. Look at those effects. Spared no expense. Spared no expense. And I push the pin. I delete the words untitled placemark. And bum, 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 bum. You're in Chicago. So what's on your mind today, Mustafa, about Bitcoin? Are you going to buy some Bitcoin at Starbucks? Get some Starbucks at Bitcoin?
I'm not. I'm not. I mean, it's good news. Mainstream adoption and all that should. It's good for the whole ecosystem, I guess. I'm still not gonna. Maybe not right now. I'm not very excited about spending my Bitcoins for coffee.
Well, hopefully they'll offer a discount or something. I wouldn't mind, like I was saying, if they sell a $100 gift card for $80 in Bitcoin, and then they just get you to use their gift card system, and they're just using Bitcoin very infrequently. This way, it doesn't really slow up their line. You just buy that gift card, and remember, even if you spend some of your Bitcoin, you can just instantly rebuy them. It takes a little organization, but it is possible.
Oh yeah, definitely. If they do something like that, then I mean that's very smart, to be honest. And a lot of people will do it. I would do that if I know there's a 20% discount. If I'm going to use my Bitcoin, I'll do exactly what you just said. I'll go buy the Bitcoin right then and there, give it to them, get my 20%, and my Bitcoin is back in my wallet, and I just got a discount.
And I don't know about this back
like
exchange if
that.
they're going to build software or anything, but if they built software that was similar to what Square has or what Apple Pay has, where you can scan that picture of your credit card and it'll just import it right there. If you had people in line and you had a big board and you were like, install this app, scan your credit card, buy a $100 gift card for $80 in Bitcoin. If it was just that easy, the thing is, you might be able to get normal people to do it too. So that might be really impressive if Starbucks could actually turn some people onto Bitcoin for us.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a stretch for us to accept or to expect a big company like that giving us such a discount. Maybe I don't know. I feel like they're going to charge you more. They're going to make it more expensive to use your Bitcoin than your fiat.
I don't know. I think the actual market of people that use Bitcoin in stores or even have the option to is very, very small. I think if Starbucks wants to do anything, they'll try to grow that market. And again, the real enemy here is the credit card companies. Every time you charge a latte, Starbucks probably has to pay 10 to 20% of that latte in fees. So if they can train you not to charge your latte, but at the same time to pay really quickly, like with a gift card system or even with a gift card system on your phone, where again, if they already have your credit card on the Starbucks app, which I'm pretty sure they do, and if they have that take a picture, scan the card thing, maybe you could just buy. I don't even know how. Well, I don't even know if they're going to need
That'd be cool.
Bitcoin.
They can do it right through their app, where
Yeah.
instead of charging your card, you can just send Bitcoin.
Yeah, and maybe you could just they just
your
connect
app.
their
That'd be
app
cool.
to the backed exchange, and then their app just lets you buy it through the exchange, and you don't even really see the Bitcoin, and maybe back just holds all the Bitcoin. I don't know. It's strange to think about what they're doing, but very interesting. So
Yeah. Hey, Mustafa. I think I don't think they should really change. Like they shouldn't make the price when you buy with Bitcoin cheaper or higher. I think they should just have a like for like pricing, or else, or it's just going to cause too much confusion for the consumer market. Honestly.
Right. Yeah. I think if they just integrate it into their already available app and just have a button, instead of they have like a dollar button and a Bitcoin button. You choose
Yeah.
what you want to pay. As long as you got that set up, like with a bank account, and then the other one set up with a BTC wallet or whatever.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Seems like it would work.
The tricky thing is this just the custodial services. Like people do deposit $100 worth of Bitcoin in there. Are they tracking it as Bitcoin or as fiat? And if Bitcoin's price goes up or down, who takes the hit
Yeah, see, that's
or
that's
who
that's
takes
the
the
thing.
profit?
That's the thing where if they try to sell you $100 gift card, then it's going to be priced in $100. As opposed to every time you make a purchase, they charge you with the daily market price or whatever it is.
Right.
yeah, it doesn't seem like there's going to be a system where you buy 10 lattes, but you hold them in Bitcoin and you end up getting 100 lattes. That would be dreamy, but I think you're gonna have to hold your own Bitcoin if you want those gains. So
Right, and you'd be like, my frappuccino is bullish today.
Right.
you only had like 75% of a coffee. The market's got to go up before you can get a whole drink.
Right, right. I don't know. I'm not really sure how that would work. That's so I think. I don't know. I think the easiest thing for them is to just sell you gift cards for Bitcoin. But the more convenient way for the consumer would be to have a Bitcoin buy button on your app. Like buy with Bitcoin button on your app.
I think they'll work through it slowly. At first, it'll be more abstract, and then if it goes well, and if they can actually convince a large number of their consumers to give this a try, they might try expanding it. But I think it's strange. Starbucks is kind of in the same position we are now, where they need to educate all of their consumers about a potential new payment option, and that's just going to take time, even if
Yeah.
you're the biggest company in the world.
Right. But now, if you think about it, if Starbucks is a little smart, or if this company that they're partnering with, Becht or whatever, if they just open up their own Lightning node, call it Starbucks node or whatever you want to call it, and you just, load it up with a whole bunch of Bitcoin, and then everybody can actually literally pay, for their coffee with Bitcoin just using the Lightning network, and it'll be instant, and it'll be priced by the minute or even by the second of what the price is, and it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah.
They'll
I
even
agree. I think
Starbucks will literally make that percentage they're paying for their credit card processing company. Obviously, they're not going to charge that much, but they can charge whatever they want. Really, they're Starbucks. They're popular anyways, so they can still keep it at 1%, and people will probably still do it. I don't know.
yeah, it makes sense for them to just use the Lightning Network for this, because if they don't, they're gonna have to eventually just have to do an alternative or something similar to Lightning, which would make no sense. There's already a network out there that can, handle these types of transactions for Bitcoin, at the scale that they would need if in case they grow. Just open up a node and a channel and start accepting Bitcoin. That'll be huge.
Yeah, exactly. And I wouldn't really think it's a good idea for them to have just one like massively huge Lightning node that runs the whole Starbucks company, but just do it like isolated to where it's like branch per branch. So it's kind of like the cash register they have. So they just open the Lightning node, and like they can like close it out every day at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, the fear is that all these companies now, they're trying to get into like custodial services now, since that's just the easiest, I guess you would call it, rent seeking style of making money. these days with Bitcoin. So Coinbase is doing it. There's like a 100 other companies that just sprouted up overnight in the past couple of months in the bear market, but they're all coming out here and they're making these custodial services. And I just think that with Starbucks, it sounds like another one of those custodial services. And they didn't mention the fact that they didn't mention like Lightning Network. Maybe it's just too early. Makes me think that they're just trying to just store people's Bitcoin and track people on the blockchain. And yeah, it doesn't sound the best, but
and it could also just
either
be
way,
like a whole bunch
adoption.
of propaganda, just like how back at the end of last year, any company that put blockchain next to their name or Bitcoin or whatever, their stock shot up. So maybe just a little promotional stunt. Hey, we're friends with Bitcoin today. Buy our
And their stock did go up.
I'm kind of fine with that too. I'm not opposed to Bitcoin being used to market other companies and then in turn to market Bitcoin. Like CoinPacket said, the Starbucks stock is up 1% right now. We are tracking it on the NASDAQ right here.
Yeah, but I think this calls for a nice celebration because I'm actually looking at the articles on Google, like Bloomberg, CNBC, all these places. I'm not really seeing much of the word blockchain. They're actually biting the bullet and saying Bitcoin. Like that's amazing to me. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great they didn't just make a Starbucks coin or something like that just
Oh
to,
yeah.
sneak out of this one. They took it straight on. So I'm excited for that too.
That is
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for taking my call. I'm gonna jump off here and just take care of some other stuff here. But nice show.
Thanks so much for the call, Mustafa. Give us a call anytime.
Cool. Thanks, Mustafa.
See you later. Bye.
All right. And you can give us a call now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. We've got the new Bitcoin talk show graphic on the screen right now. We started a little bit early today. It says we start at 9 a.m. on the West Coast, but we started early because people were excited. The price of Bitcoin was up 10%, but it was only up 10% on CoinMarketCap. We found some very strange exchanges showing $43,000 of Bitcoin. Later, they showed $20,000 of Bitcoin. And then still later, they were removed from CoinMarketCap. And now they're showing the right amount of price again. So if we refresh CoinMarketCap, everyone's in the 7,400, 7,500 range. It just goes to show what can happen when CoinMarketCap adds some strange new exchanges. Maybe a sign that we shouldn't be using this website. Maybe we should use something more like WorldCoin Index that sorts these altcoins based upon their volume, which is the best resource we have for if anyone's actually using or if anyone's actually trading these crazy altcoins. So maybe we'll check that out more tomorrow.
As a developer, I've used CoinMarketCap and they can crush you sometimes if you're going for like pinpoint accuracy and they're doing craziness like that where they're experimenting with exchanges. That's gonna destroy you. So yeah, definitely be careful and try to pick the good APIs out there. There's not that many that are free at least. But CoinMarketCap is one of them. You just gotta be careful with them. And there's another one called Crypto Compare that has a decent API, I believe. That's pretty good. But yeah, just be careful. Things like that can completely wreck you if you're developing apps based on price.
Well, that was a pretty big surprise this morning to see Bitcoin up 10%. Certainly, I was excited by the Starbucks news, but I wasn't 10% up excited.
Yeah.
And it's
so
just
shame on those guys. Don't experiment in production, please. That's not nice. There should be some better QA behind that.
And it's so funny with Bitcoin. Just last night, I was talking to the guys at the Bitcoin meetup, and they turned me on to this story right here that the trader guys were all talking about, which is the OK Exchange, and that OK Exchange had a large bet. It was on the futures, and they were about to lose. And I think they did lose. And when they lose, they're going to claw back or socialize the losses. So if you're holding coins in OK Exchange, they're going to take 18% of your coins to pay for their big loss.
Holy cow.
You don't get 18% of their gains when they make a big win. So it's a really bad deal. And I guess it's in the bylaws of the exchange. So read the fine print like anyone does that.
Holy cow.
And these guys thought that this would, tank the price of Bitcoin. They were going to stay up all night and cover this. And then boom, this morning we get this Starbucks news. And at least CoinMarketCap was saying we're up 10%. So it's just interesting how 24 hours can change things. And I imagine people feel much more bullish now, but this OK Exchange thing is still out there. People are going to have to pay socialized losses if you kept your money in the exchange. So once again, don't keep your money in the exchange. They can't take any socialized losses if you own the keys to your Bitcoin account. The other way, they can take anything they want. They could have taken 30%. This is a Cyprus situation. When I got into Bitcoin, it was because the Cyprus people, they said there was a bunch of foreign money in their country. And you know what that means, drugs. And they were going to try to seize this foreign money for the good of the government. And this also meant that they were seizing everybody's bank accounts, not just the dirty foreign money. And everyone freaked out. They could only get $100 a day from their banks. And the Cyprus people turned to Bitcoin. And they're like, we're going to get us some Bitcoin. We understand now. And I was like, wow, like for the first time historically, people have an out. Like previously, the Cyprus people would just be, screwed over. And you get your $100 a day from the ATM and you wait in line all day. And then you try to buy food before your money goes bad. But for them to have this out, for them to have this option with Bitcoin, and now we're seeing, I don't have it right here, but there's a chart going around of local Bitcoins in Venezuela, and it is through the roof. It is the kind of startup numbers you want to see, and we don't see those often in Bitcoin. So pretty exciting stuff out there with people in countries with currency problems actually having a choice now, thanks to Bitcoin. So
Yeah, that's amazing. I wonder how long it'll last before we get some CIA agents on the ground there, taking that out.
I don't
But
know.
yeah,
I still see Bitcoin as just like Levi jeans and television to the Soviet Union. It cracks right through. Okay, I gotta get the earth ready. Here we go. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Dan, and I'm calling from Indianapolis.
All right.
Hey, Dan.
How's it going, Dan? What's on your mind today about Bitcoin?
Yeah, it was interesting. I was watching the big price spike on CoinMarketCap earlier, and I jumped out and looked at the markets tab and saw those exchanges. And the highest I saw it go was like 73,000 and change.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was really, really odd. And I was just wondering if that price spike was related to the big announcement about Backed today.
We can pretty much say that, but then there's also the technical aspects. A lot of people technically had looked at the market and said that we were going to have a dip and that we were going to bounce back up. And that's kind of looks like what we did. Looking at it right now, we were at around 7,555. We fell to 7,286. And then right now we're back up to 7,487. I think I think the Starbucks news just makes us feel good. I'm not sure if it's an actual market mover, if it's going to move the market. We do have to wait 24 hours. China doesn't know about Starbucks. They're sleeping right now. It's late in the evening in Europe. So Europe is starting to turn over. So we just have to see how these different things happen in each of the openings. But volume-wise, we're not seeing a big volume surge into Bitcoin. We had this one here, 579. But that's not really higher than these previous two red ones. So I don't think, it's great news, but it's not, everyone's not running to their shops to buy Bitcoin today. They probably bought Starbucks with their credit card on their way to work, and their morning continued as normal. So we haven't really broken through anybody yet.
Yeah, I wanted to comment. I think you had asked Mustafa what he thought about buying a Starbucks card for a discount with Bitcoin. And I think a few years ago, there was some sort of thing like that where you could buy some sort of discount through Bitcoin and try to use it at Starbucks. It was like coffee for Bitcoin for coffee or something like
Oh
that.
yeah,
And I remember reading about something like that, but didn't think it ever took off. But the one thing that resonated with me that I potentially think could be useful is the education aspect. So myself, I've done a number of talks here in Minneapolis on Bitcoin and its utility and its use and so forth. And there seems to be a lot of demand right now for education, just just people just understanding what it is and not only the monetary value, but just the technology value. And so I wonder if Starbucks did something like that, where you could, push the button that you could have some just-in-time education, because it seems like education is the one thing that once people really understand Bitcoin and its utility and that really gets them excited. At least that's what I've encountered so far.
Sure, I think that'd be great. First, the coffee app was called Fold app, and they
Yeah.
are still in business. Somebody just mentioned them yesterday in the World Crypto Network Slack, and they were like, everyone forgot about Fold app. But yeah, I met those guys. They were at Boost VC, and they're very similar to Purse when I was at Purse. And we were trying to kind of advertise together and to promote both services because you could get discounts on coffee and discounts at Amazon. But those also went through the gift card system, and gift cards are a very large, very confusing market. So there's a lot of gift cards out there, and a lot of them are selling at rebates, and some of them are fishy, and some of them are not fishy. And it's a nice service, but it's not as easy as just going to Starbucks and buying your coffee. And I think that's where it fails for a lot of people. Saving 10% isn't that much to do a lot of work for.
Yep. Yeah, I used purse.io, I think it is, where you can buy stuff off of Amazon for a discount.
Hmm.
I did that some and bought a few things, and I liked it. But when you look at the value, at least in fiat, of Bitcoin, after a while, it's like, I'm not sure I want to do that anymore, even though the discounts were nice. But I did want to ask you what you guys thought about maybe, pairing something like that, something like Bitcoin for Starbucks with some sort of a charitable giving. I did a talk at a conference. It was a religious conference, and I talked about Bitcoin and how it could really change philanthropy and giving, charitable giving. And that's one thing I'm really interested in. In fact, just trying to figure out, I'd love to turn the Bitcoin Pizza Day into a day where people just, share some of their profits with their local charity. But I just love to hear your thoughts about, with so many people potentially being very wealthy with the increase of valuation of Bitcoin, how could we encourage people to donate and make a difference through charity? And I don't want to take the whole time of your show, but just love to hear your thoughts about that.
No, I think this is a great topic and definitely something worth talking about. As far as the kind of people that have been enriched in Bitcoin and whether or not they believe in charity, that's one of the first hard places to start, because a lot of these libertarians don't believe in charity and don't want to support charities. And there's additionally, with the whole trust aspect of Bitcoin, it's hard to trust a charity. You could say something like American Red Cross, and certainly they do good work, but there's also a lot of administrative spending there, and sometimes the money doesn't get to the people. So with
Yeah.
Bitcoin, I think we'd want to kind of reinvent charity. Some of the apps I've been talking about just yesterday, things like Tallycoin, which you can try out at tallyco.in. It's a free service my friend DJ Booth made, and you just bring your Bitcoin address and it tracks your fundraiser. So we have a Tallycoin going right now to raise $1 million to help spread the word about Bitcoin. And as you can see, it just kind of tracks when we get a donation. It gives us this thermometer here to fill up, and it shows us our goal. And anyone can use this to do the fundraising side of their fundraising. Then what I'd say the other part that fits into this would be Mythos. And I talked about it yesterday. Mythos allows you through Blockstack to create a venture and to share a multi-signature Bitcoin wallet. together with the kind of rules, like you can vote people out, you can vote people in, you can vote whether or not you want to spend the money. And a service like this could allow the charity to control their funds and to decide where it's spent. So I think that we're looking for kind of new Bitcoin charities to help bring in the Bitcoin money and to help people spend it, and that the Bitcoin people who would donate would kind of want this transparency. They would want the things to be published and the reports to be published, and I think that would help. But I do think Bitcoin is ripe for charity. I just don't know. I just don't know the nature of these big Bitcoiners. I mean, the only ones I know Roger Ver. He seems very unhappy. Money doesn't seem to have brought him any joy. He's raging against Bitcoin. He's raging for Bitcoin Cash. He's raging all over the place. So I don't know that he's your king philanthropist. He doesn't have that warm fuzzy feeling that someone like Bill Gates might have when they're donating to malaria research or anything like that. I don't know how to unlock that. I mean, I've read a lot of Ayn Rand books, and basically, she doesn't believe in altruism. She believes that whenever you're giving something to someone else, you're doing it for your own good. She has a very selfish view of the world, and a lot of libertarians, some of them do believe in this selfish view. So that's a hurdle we got to get over. But what do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, when I did my talk, and I talked about the nature of charities, in essence, were like third parties that with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, we could in some aspects eliminate them, and as in part of my talk. And then as soon as my talk was over, I got hit by a guy that said, hey, what do you got? And he was from a charity. And so we had an interesting conversation about that, and I had brought up the whole idea that you just mentioned, that like the Red Cross, they have this huge administrative overhead, and personally, I don't want to give to someone's six-figure salary running around in jets. I want it to impact the people that need the most help, and I certainly share some of those sentiments that I think about altruism, but at the same time, I think that in some cases you can do a lot of good, and so I don't know how to crack that nut, but I do think it's interesting because if potentially this could be the largest wealth transfer in history, I certainly would want to be I would certainly want to be known if I was a big Bitcoin hodler. And I am a hodler, not like Roger Ver or anything, but I think about, I think it was Andrew Carnegie that, spread so much of his wealth in the public library system. And he made a quote that said, "He who dies with massive wealth dies disgraced." And that's something that sticks with me. So I'm certainly everyone is going to have their own opinion on this, but I appreciate the fact that you're willing to talk about it. And that gives me some more things to think about. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. The Carnegie model is what we need. We also recently we've started to see it with Zuckerberg and Bill Gates and Warren Buffett all pledging to give away most of their wealth, and all pledging, their children are going to be well off, but they're not going to be, billionaires. And I think we need to kind of see that in Bitcoin. And the big red flag, the big warning flag for me is I forget the gentleman's name, but that guy from Ripple that died very young, and he was holding $500 million in Ripple or altcoins or whatever, and it's now locked forever. I don't think I don't know if he had close family, or I know he didn't have children. I don't believe so. He just wasn't thinking that way. And for someone with such an incredible fortune to not have any future sight at all is really scary. But I think that's a lot of Bitcoin. That's a lot of these Bitcoiners. I know Pamela Morgan, she wrote that book about how to manage your crypto assets and your inheritance. And she said she did a poll, and she was like, are you worried about, planning after you die and all these things? And the winning result on the poll was, I will not die. And I love that, guys. Like, I'm with you. I don't want to die either, and I hate getting sick and everything. But yeah, no, we can't. We've got to have a better plan for that. And we're going to have a lot of Carnegie nothings. That guy who passed with the $500 million could have built a lot of libraries. And maybe I was thinking one of the things we need to do is we need to tailor this to libertarians. So maybe maybe you could start a charity where you're going to build like free thinking centers, or you're going to build liberty centers, and people would learn about liberty. And you could also do a community garden or something. I mean, some kind of, 50-50 project where it like helps people, but it also serves liberty, some kind of thing that they could get behind. But otherwise, yeah, it's a motivation issue. These guys are sitting there, they've got more money than they know what to do with. And I don't know, I have people who they have millions of dollars or whatever, and they'll have it on one Trezor. And it's like, get 2 or 3 Trezors at least, at least move it around. And they're like, I've left it there for 5 years. I'll leave it there another 5 years. It's in my closet. It'll be fine, whatever. So, we got a lot of strange attitudes in Bitcoin. We got to work with them.
Yeah, so I so appreciate this conversation. Thank you for your time. And just as a note, I have to call in maybe another time. I use a tool called failure mode effects analysis, and it's a tool that you use in engineering and aerospace to be able to identify potential failures and how many times it happens and what you can do proactively. I've done that with crypto, and I have a Trezor wallet, and I'm amazed at how much I've learned about security, private key management, that kind of thing. So thanks again for your show, and thanks for letting me dial in. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you for the call. Give us a call anytime.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And you can call us now on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. Coin Packets, did you have a comment on that? Are you back with us? He was going to say something, but then he had to go. But when he comes back, we'll get his word on that. We are using.
I'm back.
All right. What do you think about Bitcoin and charity? What the last caller was talking about.
Yeah, that's obviously a great question, I think, from Dan. You brought up Roger Ver, and I think there's just people are just different when it comes to charities. Like for me, I'll start with myself because that's the best way to start. Charities are tough because I just don't know how the money is being distributed within the charity, and how my money is actually affecting the people who actually need the help from the charity. So I'm always leery. Like when I go to like a TJ Maxx or some store, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to donate $1 to like children's?" And I'm thinking in my head, end-to-end charity. It's like, okay, I gave you the $1, but are you going to give me a report on what happens with this $1? I know it sounds very weird, but I just want to know those things. So with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, I mean, if there is a way, and I know Ethereum has been trying to do this with their, people hopping on that platform and building ICOs to track that. But if people can, do a way where they're tracking these things from an end-to-end standpoint, where once someone donates that currency, they can see on the blockchain or on the network, who it's going to, how it's affecting someone, if there's a smart contract applied to it. I know I'm using the word smart contract, but if there's actually something like a smart contract that applies to, hey, when I do this service for these individuals, more, I can accept more or something like that. And the report gets generated telling like, hey, based on your donations, you have affected these people in this way. And this is where your money has gone to. It has not gone, 50% of it has not gone to the head chairman of the nonprofit organization who's flying around in private jets. I don't want to see that, but currently that gets hidden from people, when they do charities. You don't know where your money is going to. I mean, they might give you the reports, like the audits and all that stuff, but people don't really read that stuff most of the time. But yeah, if there's something like that on the blockchain or with Bitcoin especially, I'll be all for it. I think it's great. And just to tackle the second part where you brought up Roger Ver, I just think certain people are not in it for money. Like money does not really help certain people. They're in it for either chasing some purpose that they haven't communicated with others, or they're in it for power. And I don't want to say what I think about Roger Ver because I don't really know him to say anything definitively, but it's obviously not money. But yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's so hard with charity because basically you can't help at either end of the chain. If I give $100 to Red Cross, I have no idea where it's going. Even if they gave me a report or something, I likely don't have the time to review the report. I'd love to say I do, and I would, but there's also another reality where I'm not reading those terms and services, so I don't know what I signed up for when I joined OK Exchange, and I'm also not, reading a lot of my email. There's just too much of everything these days. So that's a thing. There's also a problem at the direct end. If I give $10 to a guy on a street, I don't know if he's going to buy hamburgers or a warm coat or something, or if he's going to spend it on whiskey or worse, some kind of terrible drugs. So there really is no accountability, and people want to help people, but they can't. Like you said, you'd like to see a report type based service. There was a program called Direct Relief. I think they're still running. It's hard to find a lot of Bitcoin still on their website. They used to be much more Bitcoin when I met them at the Internet Archive a few years ago. They say 100% of your donation should count, and they do accept Bitcoin. But previously, they were talking about exactly what you were saying about having the donations be trackable and having them on a system. BitGive, run by my friend Connie Galippi, has also been working on this for a few years. They wrote this software called GiveTrack, and I think it's basically supposed to designed to do what you're saying, to track philanthropy and see how it's going. Not sure the results of this. I'm not sure how it's going. BitGive, a very nice organization. They did a water well in Africa, and I'm not sure what they've done much since then. I think they're great, but I do think they're kind of small and not that well funded. But it's right there. Even with something like this Direct Relief, or even with BitGive, you just don't know how much is being spent on administrative salaries and how much is actually going to the people. And no one has the time to tell or to test this out. So charity is definitely broken. We would like to see Bitcoin fix it, but we just don't know. So
Yeah, that's always a tough one. And then even diving further, I mean, just getting into that aspect where we're able to track actions at that level, like if someone like what defining a successful charity event where we actually maybe fed homeless people, getting to that level where we can track that. I don't know if we're there yet. I mean, we could track people all day online and figure out, how your drive, how long it's going to take you to drive to work. I know Google sends you those messages once in a while, but to freaking track, when we've satisfied the hunger of some homeless individual, that's not here yet. That's kind of weird, but I guess we're a little ways off, and that's an open opportunity for someone to develop it and get it off the ground.
And I remember as a society, our priorities are all wrong. Most, we don't gym memberships are optional. Healthcare is optional. Yet these are the most important things in our life. We should be going to the doctor more, and we should be going to the gym more. And I don't think any of us are doing it. So it is very funny to have. Meanwhile, my cable service works great. Right, my internet service works great. My television works great. My ability to work out, my ability to be healthy, don't work good at all. So the food in all the stores is potentially poison. There's various levels of it. We're not helping people on those levels, but again, it's a capitalist society. It's a complicated puzzle.
Right. And maybe people just don't even care about helping people out. I mean, and which, I mean, honestly, for me, I can understand if someone just says that outright. Like, I don't really care about if someone's homeless. That's their fault. I'm not going to give money towards that. Someone brought this up. I think it was either Richard Hart or someone, but you could basically figure out, what people care about based on how they spend their money. And typically, people do not spend money on charities like that. I know it's not a big thing. That's why that give thing, you said they were underfunded, because people probably just don't care. So it has to be an interest first.
And it's interesting because in this new world of Bitcoin, it's all about put your money where your mouth is. I do this show every day. That's where I put my money. Other people put their money other places. But like we talk about all the time, if we don't have money for war, if we can't just print money for war, then we also can't just print money for disaster relief. And we also can't just print money for homeless charity. So all of these things that previously we funded with fiat dollars, where you could just print as much as you wanted and shrug your shoulders at the consequences, now actually have to be paid for. And this is a totally different way of running a government. The current way of running a government, oh, we need 80 bombers. Just write the piece of paper, print the money, get the 80 bombers, done and done. Oh, New Orleans is underwater. We need a bunch of soldiers and we need to rebuild levees. Write the piece of paper, print the money, done and done. In the new system of Bitcoin, both for war and for charity, if something bad happens, we actually need to pay for it with money. And nothing in our world is like this. Everything in our world, for a normal person, like myself, I do most of my stuff on credit. For someone like the US government, they do most of their credit based upon money printing. So it's going to change quite a lot. We're going to see.
Yeah, that's interesting because like if let's say the government's trying to convince you to go to war and then you have to, give them some of your Bitcoin to fund a war, you're gonna start thinking about things a little differently. Like, okay, if I'm giving up my hard-earned money, what do I know about this enemy? What has that enemy done to me? Like to physically, harm me now, in the past, or in the present? Like people will actually start thinking about that because now they actually have some skin in the game. It's not like they're just gonna, oh, the government's gonna print some money and they're gonna send some people that I don't know to this war, or they're gonna send drones or make robots to kill the enemy. Yeah, that's good. That's good. But when it's your own hard-earned money and it's not hidden by like taxes or whatever, or things like that, but it's your hard-earned, BTC that you can actually see being, taken, from you by force. I mean, that's a little different.
Yeah, there'll be no more money taking by force. People are going to have to give it up if they want to give it up. But yeah, charity is going to be different. And it might be, sadly, I hate to think forward to this, but it might be a little more desperate. I know right now, thinking of like, say, like I don't know, the shooting that was in Connecticut, I think it was. Bruce Springsteen had a concert. They had a concert for the shooting, and it was kind of casual. They put the line at the bottom. You could donate money. You could call the 1-800 number. You could text them money. They're working hard for it, but it was also kind of casual. I imagine with future fundraisers for charity in the Bitcoin era, it'll be very desperate. Like they'll be showing you the actual sick children. They'll be showing you the hospitals. They'll be trying to hit you in the heartstrings, and they might even, well, actually, I was thinking they could show you an empty vault, or they could show you a bucket full of money. But we've got the next best thing, blockchain.info or Tallycoin. They'll show you the actual numbers of the fundraiser. They'll show you the actual. It's interesting when you watch a telethon right now, and they're like, "Oh, we've raised $10,000 for a great charity." You have to take their word on it. Someone's
Right.
pledging that money. Someone's going to send in the check. They don't exactly have the money. What's great about a telethon, like I could show ours. Did I close it? I closed a bunch of windows. I think I closed our Tallycoin. But if I showed our Tallycoin fundraiser right here, here it is. That's actually the money we have. We actually have $142.89 in cold hard Bitcoin that we could actually spend to spread the word about Bitcoin right now if we needed to. That's unheard of in any charity. This is
Right.
the actual amount that we've raised. It's actually accessible by us. So I think that's a really interesting. It's going to be a big change.
Yeah, that's going to be huge. Just a nice single, well, not single, but it's, a source of a truth for these things. Like that trust mechanism is, removing it from the human being and putting it towards, proven math that can actually validate, trust. It's game changing in so many industries, not even just charities, but charities especially. That's just going to be big. So I
Yeah,
agree. By the way,
charities, game shows, anything, man. It's all got to be verified now. Yeah.
yeah, by the way, the chat for this channel is kind of crazy. what is going? It's borderline retarded. It's so bad.
Well, they have a certain style that they're into. I didn't exactly know that we would go towards the carnivore meat argument here, but a lot of the crew are into this eating meat all the time thing, and that's eating red meat. I wanted to bring this up. You guys might like this. Jim Harbaugh used to coach the San Francisco 49ers, and now he's out at Michigan at the university. He had the funniest thing about chicken, he said recently. One of his players was going to eat chicken, and he was like, "No, you shouldn't eat that. That's a cowardly bird. And if you eat that cowardly bird, it's going to get inside of you, and you're going to play football less good than a guy who's eating nothing but good, strong red meat and steak." And of course, I thought instantly of all my carnivore people in Bitcoin that are always into this. It's really funny. So we started out, there was this paleo thing, and I was like, okay, that's kind of good. Paleo is any kind of meat. Oh, don't say F you to the caller. Come on. Call in if you want. But you know, they said first they would eat meat, and they would eat like vegetables that they found on the ground or something. Anything you could find in a rabbit's cage, something like that. And then the paleo thing wasn't enough. So what these guys are doing now is they are eating allegedly they're eating all steak and just salt. Steak and salt, like every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, steak and salt. And they feel really good, and they do some numbers, and sometimes they go okay. I guess they say the numbers are good, like the cholesterol and so forth. I don't know. It seems worrisome. I'm also now I'm worried. I just don't want to eat the same thing all the time because maybe I'll become allergic to it or something. I don't know. I'm worried about repetition. But they are way into meat in the chat, and they disagree with me. They say they don't have to go to the doctor because they eat meat. And you guys should still go to the doctors. You can eat all the meat you want, but you should go to the doctors. You should go to the gym too. It's all good stuff. So
Yeah, I mean, there's I guess there's like some articles and I guess studies that show that eating only meat does have some benefits. Like they say like instead of your brain using glucose from like sugar and carbs and all that stuff, you can force it to basically generate glucose for your brain through I guess like the fatty lipids and meat or whatever, something like that, which is pretty cool. But for me, I just it just doesn't make much sense to just only eat meat. You kind of need to expose your body to other sources of nutrients just to keep yourself balanced. Too much of anything is probably not good for you.
I agree with you, but I also agree with a lot of the things that these meat eaters say. The food pyramid, the four basic food groups, these are basically bullshit, right? These were created during the 1980s and the 70s by the companies that were selling you the sugar. And they
Right.
wanted to say that sugar was okay, and they wanted to say that bread and all these other things were okay. And so the guys have got a good point on that one. I think they might have gone a little too far on the diet, but also as far as the effects, I was on the Atkins diet back in the 90s and the low carb diet or the no carb diet, and I lost a lot of weight. I totally agree with you guys if you need some help to get some weight off. But then the problem is, I found that I couldn't eat that specialized a diet forever. Bacon and eggs every day, meat all the time. You know, it's time for a snack. I'll have some meat. You know, and nuts are good too. You need to eat nuts. But yeah, I think just a mixture. I don't know. Currently, you know, they've got me on a high fiber diet. So it's so funny. I go through all this work trying to be this Los Angeles person or whatever. No carbs, no carbs, a salad, no carbs. And they're like, no, you, sir, you need to eat carbs. So it's very unique to what your diet is, to who you are, to where you are in your life. So I just think I wish doctors were more accessible. I don't know if we just need more doctors or need to make them cheaper or more friendly or something. I don't know what it is, but people put this off. They don't go to the doctor. They don't go to the dentist. I went to both recently. It's been various forms of torture, but I feel better about it. I feel like I have more knowledge about what's going on, and I think you guys should do that too. And maybe you're crazy young and you think you'll be fine, and you probably will for the next 5 years. But when that 5 years is up, everybody should go to the doctor. And everybody should go to the dentist every year or every 6 months or something. Very important. It gets much, much worse if you don't go. I know. So
Yeah, the doctor thing is another aspect that is, I guess for the crypto. Well, let me not generalize that, but for a lot of um, for some folks, the doctor is kind of like a placebo type of thing, where you go there, all you hear is bad news, and you just hear the bad news, go home, think about that bad news, and your conditions just continuously get worse. Usually, people don't broadcast enough, the benefits of going to a doctor, like going to a doctor and actually being cured, or going to the doctor being or feeling better. Usually with the media, you usually hear bad stories about, I went to the doctor and I found I have cancer. Oh no. Types of stuff like that. So what's going to make people go to the doctor with that? I'd rather, hear about people on Twitter talking about how good eating only meat, makes them feel. So I'm probably going to feel the same way. I don't need a doctor. I'm good.
Yeah, well, and then again, that's a self-reinforcing cycle, and it's even worse with the dentist. If you're like, "Oh, I'm not gonna go to the dentist because 'cause it'll be bad," and then you wait 3
Right.
years, it's gonna be worse. And then the same people that aren't going to the doctor because 'cause it'll be bad, they're not going to the gym because it's too hard. So that just adds together, and I worry, we're all gonna get sick and die someday. So, let's fight this. Let's fight this now while we can. But
Exactly.
there's also kind of an authority issue, I think, at the doctor. The doctor allegedly knows more than I do, so I have to trust him. And I think a lot of the Bitcoin people, like myself, just don't like authority. You say you're the boss, and I say you're not. I don't have any evidence to that, but I just don't like authority. So you got to get over that a little bit. Sometimes the doctors do have some good information. I think in general they want to help. I think they're overworked. They have too many patients. They don't have quite the unique relationship that you might want with your doctor. But I think we should all go to doctors and dentists and gyms. Gyms are the cheapest ones of those. So if you're saying I never go to the doctor and I never go to the dentist, well, at least go to the gym. And if you haven't joined one yet, go join one because percentage wise, they're not that much. Maybe you buy a little bit less shitty altcoins this month and you get a gym membership. You can do it. So.
Yeah, that you bring up a great point in terms of the authoritative issue when it comes to a doctor. I'm kind of the same way, where I go to the doctor, and after my doctor visit, if anything bad comes up, or even with my wife or kid, like if anything bad comes up, I'm always after the visit researching it myself to like, okay, let me see what this guy diagnosed. Let me see what the internet says, and let me do my own research. It's never like, oh, you said that. Okay, that's what I gotta live with. The second part I was gonna bring up is just um, machine learning, and I guess you would call it like deep learning or whatever. They're trying to use AI to actually try to replace the doctors, so that when you go to a doctor, they will perform the procedures. It wouldn't actually be a doctor performing; it'll probably be like an assistant doing the procedures to scan your body, and then we have large data sets of how these diseases happen and history and research that these artificial intelligence, machine learning machines would parse through and match yours to that particular diagnosis and give you a pretty accurate diagnosis. It's not available yet, but it's coming. But basically, how do you feel about that? Like a machine, like Bitcoin, let's call it a Bitcoin doctor telling you your diagnosis.
Well, I think we're definitely going there. The last time I was at the doctor, I went to a person I'd never been before. This was called a navigator, and the navigator was to help me guide me through all the different appointments and the specialist and the test and all the different things I'd been seeing. And when I was talking to them, they were kind of training the new person. So they had their big binders open on their desk, and I looked at them and I saw something I'd never seen before at the doctor's office. I saw a flow chart, right? Computer programming flow chart with the little
Wow.
arrows and the decision boxes and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, my God, this computer science thing is going too far. Like these people here have to know how to read a flow chart. This whole medical system, and that's really what it is. It's like, have you been eating this? Yes or no. And then when I talked to the doctor, it was the same thing. She was using a computer program that basically is like you're saying, it's an early version of this AI. where she was like, "Oh, have you eaten any of this? Have you drank any alcohol? Have you traveled to Turkey?" You know, it was like all these little basic questions. And based on those questions, she was able to narrow it down. And certainly she went to school and she studied medicine and she knows lots of stuff. But this little computer program was really guiding her and in a lot of ways doing a lot of the work. So yeah, I think we're already there. I think it's going to be sooner than we think. But yeah, it's a joy right now to talk to a real human being doctor. It's going to be sad if that goes away. And yeah, I definitely spend a lot of time with the nurses and the dental hygienists and all the, you can tell it's a specialization of labor, right? They're keeping the pros away from you until it's pro time. And when the pro comes in, he's like, boom, boom, boom. He just keeps it going. So.
Right. Right. Yes. Interesting world.
Well, I think we're going to have to demand some calls from the audience. So I'm going to put up the big words, Skype, World Crypto Network. Again, people can talk about anything. I thought we were going to mainly talk about Starbucks today, but you guys want to talk about carnivore and the keto. Tell me how it is. Personally, I think it would be, I'd get tired of cooking steak all the time. I wake up in the morning, I want to eat some oatmeal. It cooks in the microwave really fast. Maybe I could microwave some steak. Maybe I could microwave some chicken. You guys still eating chicken, or did the Harbaugh convince you? Or you're not going to let that lily-livered coward animal into your nice strong steak veins?
I mean, using that logic though, if you can't eat any cowardly animals, right?
Mhm.
You can't really eat a steak because I mean a steak, unless you're getting straight from a bull or something. But a cow is kind of like really passive. You'd have to eat like lions and tigers and bear meat. You can't eat any venison or anything like that. You got to eat some. Might as well eat human beings at that point with that logic.
There's a
Like
great
only predatory animals.
There's a great line in Rick and Morty where he's like, "Yeah, therapy makes you coward, and it makes you easy to deal with and very flexible, which is something we like in our food, but not in our people."
Oh wow.
It's something like that. He's like, "Yeah, that it makes you, weak-willed and easy to eat." And he's like, "Yeah, that's something we like in our people, but not in our food, but not in our people." Oh, it's just so great, Rick and
Right.
Morty, man.
You are what you eat, supposedly.
But yeah, we got the big news about Starbucks. We got the big Google Earth right here. We're marking down locations where people called, but it doesn't look like it's working. No one's calling in. All these meat people, none of them have Skype. We had 3 calls today, one from the West Coast of America, 2 from the Midwest of America, actually close to each other, Chicago and Indianapolis. Maybe they could meet up. People are still talking about all the things that they ate. Rad Vladdy missed the news of the day, so we're just going to recap a little bit, see if we can get a phone call and try to keep this show going, or ask us a good discussion question in the chat. Needs to be something broad, right? But today, Starbucks dropped a major hint at plans to accept Bitcoin. ICE, the badly named company that owns the New York Stock Exchange, launched a new exchange called Backed, BAKKT or something. It's a Klingon word. And this new exchange is backed by Microsoft and Starbucks, giving us hopes that Starbucks will actually accept Bitcoin in their stores. We don't know what it'll be. People today have talked about them needing the Lightning Network if they're going to do individual transactions, or taking a risk at Bitcoin's fees going back up, or staying steady and just taking Bitcoin straight up, or maybe a plan where you could sign up and buy a gift card with Bitcoin, maybe $100 gift card for $80 in Bitcoin. And then they could just use their existing Starbucks rewards program, and Bitcoin just becomes an on-ramp for buying gift cards at Starbucks. We don't know which version of Bitcoin they're going to do, what they're going to do with it, but we do know that there's now major hints out there that Starbucks will accept Bitcoin, and Microsoft, surprisingly good friend to Bitcoin, continuing to join up. Apple, however, not a great friend to Bitcoin, working on Apple Pay, directly competing with Bitcoin. Google and Samsung also directly competing with Bitcoin. Microsoft either doesn't have a payment system or hasn't realized that this is the new marketplace yet and is ceding it to Bitcoin. Very strange position from Microsoft. They might be changing their mind on that soon. We're checking in on the price of Bitcoin. Looks like we're down about 1%. Strangely neutral or down on this otherwise positive news day. It is a Friday. Always bring out the big news on Friday. Looks like we're only down half a point now, so we have recovered slightly. We were checking out the altcoin markets this morning on CoinMarketCap, and it was very exciting because CoinMarketCap decided to add some new exchange to their Bitcoin prices today. At one point, these new exchanges were reporting the price of Bitcoin at $43,000 a coin. This was throwing off the entire CoinMarketCap index and falsely reporting that the price of Bitcoin had gone up 10%. Later, these exchanges were showing that the price was $20,000. And still after that, CoinMarketCap removed all of these goofy exchanges, returning the price to $7,524. People are still fired up about meat in the chat. They love to talk about meat, but they don't want to call the show.
Oh my God.
Coin Packets, what do you think about all these meat lovers in our chat? All the things they love.
Hey, hooray for them. At least they're unified, around it. And they also support Bitcoin. They're also Bitcoin lovers. So I have no problem, just as long as they, stay healthy, go to the doctor and get checked to make sure that they're not doing anything crazy.
Nothing crazy like eating steak all the time. A guy in the chat says, I brush my teeth with steak. I never get tired of that flavor.
Goodness gracious. Oh, quick shout out to CoinHawk Crypto. He brought up when we were talking about CoinMarketCap, adding those crazy exchanges. He was in the chat and he mentioned that BitMEX has a really good API that is pretty trustworthy if you're developing apps. Oh, you got a call.
I gotta switch back to the globe. Everything's complicated now. Here we are. Caller, you're live on the World Crypto Network. Oh no, we lost him. Oh, try again. Try again. Oh no. Oh, there you are. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Colin, and I'm calling from Southwest Florida.
All right, Colin. What's on your mind today about Bitcoin, or are you calling to talk about meat?
Hey, Colin.
Hey, yeah, I'm calling about Bitcoin. I think we're having a pretty positive news day. It's pretty weird that the price isn't moving much. What do you guys think about that?
Well, it's going to take at least 24 hours for the entire market to hear about the news. So everyone has to hear about it and make their moves. It's good news. It's certainly good news if Starbucks starts accepting Bitcoin, even if it is through a gift card or through some kind of other idea. It's not quite Bitcoin ETF news, right? It's not a million new investors lining up to buy Bitcoin tomorrow. But it's still good news. So yeah, I don't know that it's going to move the needle on the price, but it definitely moves the needle on the news, right? The feeling out there for Bitcoin feels good. All of these people who are writing articles about Bitcoin being dead are now going to have to write articles about Starbucks taking Bitcoin. And I think it's going to lead to a good environment out there, and it might lead to other companies joining in to Bitcoin. What do you think, Coin Packets?
I think it's excellent. I just want some more companies to come out just like Microsoft and Starbucks, who stuck their necks out. I need some other companies to also do the same thing, like you said, Thomas. I mean, it would be great if we can have maybe 5 big companies, on that list saying, "Hey, we're pro Bitcoin, and we're actually going to use it in our payment services." So, yeah.
And what do you think, caller? Should it go up more? Should it be faster?
Well, I don't know if it should move the price right now, but I do believe it is more evidence of the fundamental structure of cryptocurrency being adopted by the mainstream and large corporations. So I think that is incredibly good news. It's just, another example of this structure that's being built to facilitate the transfer of crypto.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's great news, and it's not quite them taking Lightning Network or something like that, but every little bit helps. We're moving forward, and again, if the opposite were true, if they had formed a deal to take Litecoin or formed a deal to take Bitcoin Cash, we could say certainly that's bad for Bitcoin. But meanwhile, everything, the Bitcoin ETFs, the Bitcoin futures, the Bitcoin markets, all the exchanges, everything seems to be opening up for Bitcoin first, and maybe these other coins will follow, but still, it's best to be with the leader.
Right. Yeah, it's a leader in terms of liquidity, how long it's been around, stability, all those things. Why not pick Bitcoin as the currency to start with, and probably the only one to use at this point? I mean, if Lightning goes pretty well, there's no point in using anything else, really.
Yeah, that's a good point. What are your thoughts on Lightning? Is it ready to start implementing in a way that would, benefit the everyday person as well as the large corporations such as Starbucks? I mean, is it ready to handle, coffee purchases, a lot of them on a regular basis?
Well, I think there's different parts to that. I think that the back end might be ready and the technology is good, but I'm not sure that the front end and that the user applications are ready. I know I haven't tried Lightning yet because there's not a Lightning wallet for iOS. I think there's a testnet version. I downloaded it, but then I couldn't get any testnet coins. But it's just generally how much time you have to work on beta software, and I don't think a lot of people have it, so we're just waiting until it becomes ready and 1.0 and that kind of thing. I think it's going to happen slower than people want. People want the Lightning Network to be ready right now, and technically it is, but still we're going to need 6 months to a year, maybe 2 years, to get the interfaces, to get all the different exchanges, to get everybody ready. It's just going
Sure.
to take more time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
take more time, right? So, from a corporate perspective, that time is money. So, how long are they going to wait? What I think is going to happen is, I think I agree with you that they're going to go with Bitcoin first. That would be the logical thing to do. But the fact that Lightning Network is not readily available right now to the everyday person, and that the transaction speeds, because of the mempool, when there's large transactions, the speeds go down. So there's definitely pros and cons. But what I think is going to happen is, I think that the corporations are going to use Coinbase's API. That could be an interesting way to accept crypto, but not have to kind of deal with maybe some of the underdeveloped aspects. So kind of like how the Omizago wallet works, where a user can pay in any crypto they want, and then the McDonald's can receive anything or any crypto or any currency that they want, and Omizago just handles the transaction. So I could see like something like the Coinbase API, in partnership with Coinbase Custody, which is like another big news piece that came out recently. So, for instance, on Shopify, you can actually check out using Coinbase's API, and you can pay in the coins that are listed on Coinbase. So there's definitely, the API is handling that transaction and converting it into whatever Coinbase wants to accept. So I could see ICE, and however it's related to the NYSE, actually participating in like maybe Coinbase API, and doing kind of an Omizago type swap.
Well,
Yeah, that'll be a little difficult because Coinbase can tackle the custodial part, but the transactional part, where they're actually handling customers transacting Bitcoin, they're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to do that. That's a whole different ball game, because cementing those transactions on the blockchain, unless they're, like I said, with Bax, this other group, unless they're doing something that's an alternative to Lightning, where they're doing kind of you open up with a amount of Bitcoin, and basically you could do some off-chain transactions. Unless they're doing something like that, then I can understand that. But if they're doing their own transactional service with the true Bitcoin blockchain, cementing the transactions, that'll be incredibly difficult.
Well, yeah,
So
okay,
yeah.
I agree. But where do you think Starbucks is going to store their crypto? I would assume that Coinbase has already made a lot of good moves and have talked to corporations that are ready to store their crypto with Coinbase custody. I mean, I would assume companies like Starbucks, Target, Walmart, Chick-fil-A, these companies are going to be storing their crypto at Coinbase custody.
Yeah, the storage is not the problem. The storage is
Yeah.
easy. It's the most easiest part. The
Well,
transactional part is the problem.
Actually, it sounds like from the article that Bakkt is going to go into business against Coinbase and against these other companies. And what you're saying with Coinbase custody, Bakkt is going to offer the exact same service. And again, this all goes back to BitPay, right? We've had this service for a long time. You can pay in Bitcoin, they'll convert it to USD, you get the USD in your account. Basically, this service creates a lot of Bitcoin sellers. Whenever more and more people use BitPay, more and more people sell their Bitcoin instantly. So this actually drags down the price of Bitcoin. What's interesting now is what we need to see is a second level type service, something like Overstock, where Overstock kept some of their Bitcoin because of the investment. They took a risk and it wasn't great for a while, but then it really paid off. And they took it as an investment. What they can't do is pay their suppliers. What we really need is some kind of warehouse man that sells widgets to accept Bitcoin for his widgets. This way, the company that sells widgets can just hold that Bitcoin, send them directly to the supplier, and never have to touch the fiat system. It doesn't sound like this deal is going to get us closer to that. It sounds more like Bakkt is creating their own Coinbase custody. Starbucks is going to accept Bitcoin through them, and they're going to probably instantly convert it into fiat. So we're moving forward, but we're not quite at a Bitcoin economy yet.
That's all
Right.
very interesting.
Yeah, at that point, it's
Bad
still
business
not
for them to
liquid.
accept it in fiat.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, it's still not liquid enough to be what they're imagining it to be. It's only as liquid as the amount that Coinbase has in custody, which is probably a lot. But if they want to transact outside of Coinbase, like a Coinbase to Bakkt type of transaction, that infrastructure hasn't been built, but it has been built with Lightning, because with Lightning you can create those channels so if Starbucks opens up their own channel, they can have a network that has a path that goes to Coinbase if they want to, but for some reason they don't want to do that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'd like to believe that they would use Lightning, but at this point now, we're going to need more of like a test program from Starbucks where they're testing out Lightning, and it's going to take some time. I think right now they're just trying to get to Bitcoin, and like I was thinking, they might restrict it to larger answers or larger amounts of money. They might try to get you into their gift card program, something like that, which again would be another kind of a half step, which is maybe like why the market's not so excited. But again, these half steps keep going our way. Compared to where we were 5 years ago when Bitcoin was tulips and no one believed in it and Wall Street shat on us every day, now every day Wall Street loves us. Every day companies like Starbucks and Microsoft are getting into Bitcoin. Every day big people are changing their mind. Banks are getting into it. Central banks are getting into it. Governments are getting into it. So it feels like we got the big momentum, and this helps us on the news. It might not help us on the price yet, but it creates a better environment, a more positive environment.
Yeah, I totally agree. That was a great way to put it. I think you covered that. What do you guys think about the SEC and maybe possible regulations coming up? What's your overview on the regulations right now?
Well, I liked what the commissioner said, and I listened to part of her interview on CNBC Africa. She did an interview down there, and she doesn't really care about Bitcoin. She just wants things to be regulated fairly. And when she looks at the gold market and she looks at the Bitcoin market, she sees the exact same complaints that the SEC had about the Winklevi ETF match up perfectly with gold. There's tons of manipulation. No one controls the market. It's held by large holders. All these things are true about gold. They're also true about Bitcoin. So she supports them approving it. I think the Winklevi, unfortunately, might be those people who do all the work but don't get any of the reward. They've tried this 3 times and failed. The big dates we've got left are next week, August 10th. We're going to get a decision on one of the ETFs. I think the commissioner thought, and the most likely reaction is that we're going to kick the can down the road. And that we're going to wait till September to get the results of these ETFs. That's what we're going to learn on August 10th. I don't know for sure. It could be approved. It could be disapproved. These are events that could move the market. And then September, we might find out, but they might kick it down again to February of next year. Remember, there's no reason for them to rush this decision. The SEC, if they're limiting the markets, they're limiting the markets. They're a slow-moving organization. They want to get this right. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to wait. If it happens, I'm super bullish because it means a ton new buyers and a ton new holders with the ETF holding and a chance for normal people to get in. So, what do you think, caller, about the ETF?
Well, I don't know too much about the ETF, but I will tell you that when someone explains what crypto is, I'm bullish. I'm on board.
Well, anything they can do to talk about it more, and especially a big vehicle like an ETF that allows people to buy Bitcoin with their pre-tax money. It allows them to hold it in their stock market account like a stock. And it just simplifies it for a lot of people and maybe even some large investors or some large family investors. Part of what's been going on is that the Winklevi ETF was more pointed at the commercial user, at your average buyer and seller of stocks. Whereas the ETF that's coming up now for August 10th, I think it's called the Virex ETF or something like that. That's going to be more of an institutional ETF. So if a large business or a large bank or somebody wanted to hold some Bitcoin, so it's coming to us in different ways, different levels. Looks like we lost the caller, but thanks so much for your call. And you can give us a call now on Skype at World Crypto Network. It is 10:30. We are hitting towards the end of the time, but if we can get a couple more calls, we'll keep this going. I know Coin Packets, you said you had to take off. Where can people learn more about your work? Where can they follow you? Go ahead.
You can follow me at Coin Packets. I'm on Twitter, just like that, Coin Packets. You can also check out my website, Coin Shakedown, just basically grades cryptocurrencies. But yeah, on Twitter, I basically talk the same nonsense I talk about on the show. But hey, Thomas, thanks for having me, man. This is really good, and thanks for all the callers. Great discussions.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here, Coin Packets. Thanks for hanging out with us. And as always, if you want to co-host this show, you can join the Slack for World Crypto Network. It's a little complicated right now. You have to DM your email to Mad Bitcoins on Twitter. But we're looking for new co-hosts, people that can hang out just like Coin Packets, help us do some talking here, help us take some calls. So thanks so much, Coin Packets, for joining us. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And we're going to try to keep this going, maybe 5-10 more minutes if we can get another call, or we'll head towards the end of the show. Pretty impressed with my idea to use Google Earth to track the callers. I think it's working out. As you can see here, we've had calls in almost every major time zone in the United States today. Pretty fun. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from? Drama. Doesn't sound like your microphone's working. Might want to try unplugging it and replugging it. Definitely suggest, like a lot of the callers said, just calling in on your phone, installing the Skype app on your mobile phone, because that has both a microphone and a receiver. But you might want to try turning it off and on again. Something like that might work. But we will take your call if you want to give it another try after you fix those technical difficulties. If you're at home right now and you'd like to call us, you can call us on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. Thanks to everybody for giving us thumbs up today. I can see it's really working. We had around 200 viewers at the peak of this episode. Now we're about 190 viewers. So if you're one of those 190 viewers, all you have to do is install the Skype app. You can do it on your phone, create an account, and call us. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from? Oh, still not getting your audio. Give it another try. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling us from?
Hey, it's Colin again from Southwest Florida.
All right, Colin from Florida. How's it going, man?
It's going great. I just had a thought. What's your opinion on Tezos?
I don't know very much about Tezos. I mainly know there was a Wired article, some kind of strange thing. It was made by a couple. I don't know. It's just another one of those ICO altcoins to me. What do you know about Tezos? What's going on?
Sure. Well, Tezos was an ICO that ran last June and July. And it's its own blockchain, and it's based on a language that's not like JavaScript. So it's actually a functional programming language called OCaml.
Okay.
And it's basically going to compete with other smart contract platforms. And it basically totes that they're going to be able to bring formal verification to smart contracts, which is going to drastically increase security.
How would it increase the security?
Well, it's based in the language itself. The language is it's functional, so it's like not objective based. And I'm not like much of a programmer myself, but apparently like through JavaScript, like in Java, which Ethereum smart contracts are like based on, and like some of the hot wallets and things like that have been hacked recently or in the past. It's due to like the fundamental low capacity for like Java to be safe. And these are things that cannot be fixed because of the language. Like you'll always have these like intense security issues because the language is objective instead of functional programming, which Tezos uses, and it's based in mathematics. So like as a person who's not a programmer, I only understand it like on the surface, but there's a lot of pretty smart like computer programmer people out there that are PhDs and their eyes are on Tezos. So I figured I'd get your opinion on it. So
yeah, it's going to be pretty tough. I mean, certainly we're kind of in the same box here. I've dabbled in some computer programming stuff, but I'm not going to claim that I'm a computer programmer here. But when they're claiming something like that only an expert can know, it puts you in a really hard position, right? Because you can't really figure it out for yourself. And if you just trust the expert, you're not going to get any kind of verifiable information. You're just you trusting someone blindly. So I don't know about that. They're pretty critical of Tezos in the chat. I have to warn you, people are calling it an ICO and a shill and a ban and a security. So there's a lot of questions around Tezos. So I'd be very careful if you're investing in there.
I think that if you want to call it anything you want, let's say, can you give me a couple of them that they said? First of all, they said securities.
Sure, right? They say it's a security. Yeah.
Well, it's decentralized, so it cannot be defined as a security. So there's one. So I mean, I can defend it pretty well. I'm an investor myself. It's got a really good community, and things are starting to really like turn on as far as like the nodes. It was like 4,800 nodes, something like that right now. And the way you can like earn more Tezos is you bake them on your node, and you're receiving like more all the time.
All right, so it's kind of a proof of stake system.
Yeah, it's a delegated proof of stake. So you essentially set up like a manager wallet, and then if you have more than 10,000 Tezos, you can actually become a node, and then people who have less than 10,000 are able to delegate their wallets to yours and participate in the rewards. So what you have to do as a node is you've got to provide basic like security for your own self. You've got to provide 100% uptime, or you'll get negged for being down. And then all the baking rewards that you get, they combine with how many people are delegating to you, and you're able to like pay out like 15%, whatever you decide, to all of your delegated base. So, I mean, you can look at it on tzscan.io, where they've got the Tezos blockchain explorer, and it's up, it's running, it's smooth as hell, really nice. And I'm a pretty active member in the community. I think it's a pretty good project. They just got the cover of Wired magazine, which is like a big news piece. They have that Swiss Foundation with new leadership. They are one of the investors was Olaf Carlson Wee from Polychain Capital. He was Coinbase's first employee. They actually recruited Vitalik Buterin before he made Ethereum, and he actually decided not to join Coinbase and went on to make Ethereum. So Olaf actually sits on the board of the Tezos Foundation, and the Winklevoss twins were big investors of the project as well. And they just revealed on their website that they were in fact investors, and Tim Draper also invested. So there's a lot of big names, big connected players. And I think behind it all is a extremely educated group of individuals with PhD level education, writing a secure contract platform based on delegated proof of stake. I think it would be very unwise to ignore this project, honestly. I think if you look into it and stop just chasing quick gains off your BTC flips or whatever you're doing, you're going to find a fundamental investment that isn't going to be around for quite some time. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I would say to just be very careful. It's great that all those people are into it, but I got to tell you, those people didn't buy the coin at a 1-to-1 rate like you did. Those people got discounts, right? So if they got their coin for half the price, they have no restrictions, because remember, this isn't an IPO, right? This isn't a lockdown stock thing. This is a crazy crypto thing. So you got to figure those people are sitting on a pile of coins that they got for cheap, and they could dump them at any time. So I'd be very careful about that. The classic rule is, if you're sitting at the table and you can't spot the mark is you. So I would just be very careful with that. A lot of other systems have proof of stake. A lot of other people have that system. Remember, proof of stake also makes the rich richer, as they're saying in chat. That's a system that's going to reward people who got there early. So you got to look at your timestamp and look at when you got your first coins and see if you're the early one. With all of these altcoins now, I'm not saying no one should be in them, because you can buy it low and you can sell it high. But to do that, you have to be early. You have to be early to buying it low, and you have to be early to selling it high, because if it turns and you're not out yet, it could never return. It's very possible. So yeah, I don't know much about Tezos. The chat is very negative about it. Just want to let you know, FYI, keep this in mind. Certainly, grain of salt and all that. But yeah, I would just be very careful out there with Tezos or any of these altcoins. So
Yeah, I think it's great advice. I mean, a lot of the ICOs have been pretty shady. I mean, I know myself, I've lost some money here and there on the cloud mining investments, where the owner just closes up shop. We all saw BitConnect. I mean, we're all pretty aware of the ups and downs. I mean, we can move 30% in a day in either direction. I mean, the whales are out there like moving waves. And there's a lot to be aware of, right? But that is for every cryptocurrency that you come across. I mean, even with the Lightning Network, you should do that. You should look at who Blockstream is and who the core guys are.
Blockstream is the best computer programmers in the space. Blockstream is the scientists. So I would be more concerned of anyone who can't get a job at Blockstream. I would be worried that the second and third level developers are running the projects that you're investing in. And I would say, gosh, that scares the hell out of me. When I look at Blockstream and I see that they've hired people in the past like Christopher Allen, who created TLS, the security layer that runs the internet, when they have someone like Adam Back there who created Hashcash, which is an early version of Bitcoin, I would feel very confident using a product created by Blockstream. Anyone else with any less of a pedigree, I would be concerned for my money. So,
yeah. So,
like, if you look at Roger Ver and this whole Bcash thing, they have like one developer called Dead Linux, and he doesn't even put his real name on it, so that if he wants to work on a real project like Bitcoin in the future, he can just change his name back to whatever his name is. That doesn't fill me with any confidence. So a lot of these projects have mysterious founders and so forth. There's only one mysterious founder I believe in, and it's Satoshi Nakamoto, because he did it first. So
yeah, no, it's good to use, critical thinking on every project. But if you're going to do it on every project, do it on every project. You understand what I'm saying? And we all have biases. We all do. And I know all of that. So looking at that, I think it's wise to look into Tezos, honestly. And that's not because I have, enough to bake on the network and I'm trying to get a bunch of rewards from it or whatever. Honestly, fundamentally, it's a good project.
All right, well, we'll
I
take a
agree with
look
you
at
that
it, and
credentials are important.
we're certainly open to these new projects, and we want to be fair and everything, but just buyer beware. Be very careful out there with these new projects. And personally, I was about 99 to 1% Bitcoin. I'm more in the 90 or 80% these days, just trying to pick up some gains on these crazy altcoins. But once again, I don't believe in any of them. I believe that if you can buy low and sell high, that's great. But when I look at the real technologies, I look at Bitcoin, I look at the Lightning Network, I look at the liquid side chains, I look at that company Blockstack, that's actually building applications that work on Bitcoin that people can actually use. When I hear a lot of hype about these dApps and about these new platforms and so forth, I think they might get pumped. They might go crazy up, and I might enjoy a pump. But I don't see anybody challenging Bitcoin for the long term.
Sure. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there, but the part that I want to go to is, why is it that the Lightning Network, why is that not viewed as like a pump of itself?
Okay, because it doesn't actually print any new coins. So as opposed to every altcoin where they're printing new coins, where Ethereum had a massive pre-mine. I don't know about Tezos, but I'm sure they have a pre-mine. Zcash went around the pre-mine by giving themselves a founder's reward. Every time a block is found, they get money. So all of these services are, pumps. They're inflating the supply of cryptocurrency in general. So I would say with Bitcoin, there are 21 million units. With the Lightning Network, 0 new units are added. So I don't see this in any form pumping Bitcoin.
Right. So don't you, when you, I don't know, access a wallet or however you want to say it, you run a node with Lightning Network, I'm not sure. You can correct me on that. But
Sure.
When you do that, you unlock Lightning Network tokens. Didn't you say that earlier?
No, you commit Bitcoin to the channel. So you put like $100 in Bitcoin in, and then now you have the equivalent of $100 in Bitcoin in Lightning. So it actually matches up at a 1-to-1 level. Nothing is created.
Mhm.
So yeah, no, I'm sorry to say, man, but like there's some Bcash FUD out there. Basically, there's some people that don't want you to believe in Lightning Network, and they're out there telling you that Blockstream is a conspiracy. And if you look at the company, if you talk to the people, I don't feel that at all. I've talked to Adam Back, I've talked to Samson Mao, I talked to Jay, all kinds of people that used to work there, and I don't see that at all. I see them as scientists when I talk to them. and I don't see any conspiracy there. And then I don't think that there is Lightning Network tokens. That's just not a real thing. That's nonsense from these Bcash people. Basically, the Lightning Network is a second layer. So right now it's super expensive. It's not, but 6 months ago it was expensive to move Bitcoin around. And when Bitcoin becomes more popular in the future, it's going to be more expensive to send Bitcoin. So whereas you might use your Bitcoin to buy a house or a Lamborghini, if you want to get a coffee at Starbucks, what you do is you take $20 of Bitcoin, you put it in the Lightning Network. Now your $20 is locked. Now what you're essentially doing is you're trading little slivers of that Bitcoin in the Lightning Network. When Starbucks collects a whole bunch of those slivers, they can trade them in for Bitcoin. That's when your sliver would officially leave the network. So that's about it. You're just trading smaller pieces of Bitcoin on the Lightning Network, and it's a
That's
better
really
way of doing it. Yeah. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so my question is like it is a second layer solution on top of the base layer of Bitcoin. So
Mhm.
my question is like it can't be the only second layer solution because like if you look at Ethereum, the second layer solutions all over the place. I mean, one pops up every like 3 hours, right? So why is it that Lightning Network is going to be the winner of the second layer solution? What if someone comes up with like the Lightning 2 layer and then they have like even cheaper fees and it goes even faster or it's more secure somehow? Like because you said they are scientists, Samson Mao, these people, they're
Mhm.
scientists, right? Well, that means they're doing an experiment. And since we're not done with the experiment, like shit's going to evolve, right? So
Well, basically, we can look at projects like TCP/IP, the layer that runs the internet. It started off very small. It didn't have a lot of features or functions, and people thought naturally we would replace it with TCP/IP2 or TCP/IP3 or something, right? We would get rid of this service, but instead, TCP/IP bent but didn't break. People kept fixing it. Different people kept working together on it because it was open source, right? The Lightning Network is open source. So it doesn't matter. It's not just Blockstream working on it. In fact, Lightning Labs, the company that's building the Lightning Network, is a totally separate company from Blockstream with totally different people. There's also an implementation of the Lightning Network being done by MIT. Taj Drija, one of the creators of the Lightning Network with Joseph Poon, basically quit Lightning and started his own similar version of Lightning at MIT. Additionally, Joseph Poon, who used to be working on the Lightning project, is now working on Plasma for Ethereum, which is basically the Lightning project for Ethereum. So yeah, I think second layer is the way to scale. I think it is possible there'd be another second layer. Maybe if Lightning is too popular, we create a smaller version of Lightning, like mini Lightning, and you trade sub Satoshis or something like that. That seems possible. But again, just because there could be a better version of it is no reason to give up on Bitcoin. And also, I just don't see any evidence for any competing project on any other coin or any other space that's, of course, similar or superior to Lightning or Bitcoin.
well, that's great. There's definitely a lot of misinformation out there. I mean, like I'm totally aware that there's like an absolute war going on in between, the two chains.
Well, and let's remember the other side has all the money. Our side right here, our tally coin for $1 million has raised $143.98. So we can buy 3 to 5 sets of Bitcoin flyers at the current price that I paid at Kinko's. Roger Ver and his crew, not only do they own Bitcoin.com that they paid a lot of money for, but they're using it every day to propagandize for this Bcash and to propagandize that scaling on chain will be enough. And just as a simple layman right here, I can tell you that scaling on chain ruins censorship resistance. And censorship resistance is the ability to send money to anyone, right? And not to have it canceled or controlled. So if we lose censorship resistance, we pretty much lose the whole project. So it's a real non-starter from that scenario. And people just aren't seeing this, and the propaganda is working. And lots of people believe in this thing for no reason. They believe it's Satoshi's original vision. They think it's simpler, but simpler is not always the best. I don't think Satoshi thought that his project was done when he released it. That's why he kept working on the code. That's why he kept improving it and fixing it. And all of the other programmers who joined Bitcoin after that kept improving it and fixing it. So I really think we've got the best science project out there. All these other things are pathetic imitations. And if I had to say that we're in another .com situation, Bitcoin is the Amazon, Bitcoin is the eBay. There's going to be a lot of pets.com corpses walking around here. There's going to be a lot of Komodos and some web vans. There's going to be a lot of delivery services that looked fine on paper and looked like they had some great teams. But then they came up against, you know, the 300-pound gorilla in the room. And, you know, Bitcoin is the Amazon. This is the one. So.
No, you make a great point about Bitcoin. You know, I mean, my first purchase was in 2014. So it's not that long ago, but I got a little bit of time on me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to love Bitcoin. I don't want to be unsure of the technology. I think the what 8-9 years it's been around. It's been time tested, battle tested. You can't hack it. It's not broken. It runs. It's great. It's awesome. I love it. But second layer solutions, I'm gonna have to re-swallow that pill. I'm not a believer in second layer solutions yet. I think you have a great point that you know, the Lightning Network has the best science fair project out there, the best experiment going, and that's great. I respect that opinion. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't know who Satoshi is, and I like that. I do know who Samson Mao is. I can Google him. I can Google Lightning Labs. I don't know anything about these people, and I honestly don't want to research it. I want to research Bitcoin, and that to me, I'm not, you know, like I said, my first purchase was in 2014. I want to be positive for second layer solutions, but I haven't swallowed that pill yet. So even on Ethereum, that's why I don't like Ethereum all that much. And that is why I like Tezos. And this all has to do with each other because Arthur Brightman, the developer and creator of Tezos, he wrote the white paper. He cited these problems of second layer solutions, and that's why he made a modular base protocol where you can actually modify the base technology inside of Tezos. So basically, if you know, Lightning Network was to succeed, and it was the #1, you know, science fair project out there in the world, proven, and Tezos could just adopt the technology, and we could do it on delegated proof of stake. So it's interesting. I don't think that there's going to be an end all be all science fair project that wins. I think there's going to be unlimited science fair projects out there. And they're going to be not for profit. They're not going to be controlled by a company. I just see so much diversity that's going to explode in the next 2-3 years. It's going to be, obviously it's going to be interesting, and this is just my opinion, but that is my opinion. So
yeah, I'm pretty much on the opposite there. I agree that it's going to be a Cambrian explosion, referring back to the Darwinian idea of when so many new species approached us and appeared. But remember, I think 80 to 90% of the Cambrian explosion got wiped out. Nature loves to evolve and it loves to make things extinct. So I do think Bitcoin is the one. I think if you look at monetary history, there's always been a single currency when it really comes down to it. It's been the United States dollar for the past 100 years. It was the Great British Pound before that. The euro gave it a try, but didn't really win. And I think Bitcoin is the new winner of that. I think also if you look at internet history, TCP/IP, the network that we're using right now to send packets around, as Andreas has told us, you know, several times, it bent, but it didn't break. Email was going to break it. Email attachments were going to break it. Video was going to break it. Streaming was going to break it. All of these things came along, and then some smart computer scientist out there figured out a way around it. So I would stick with Bitcoin. I would stick with the winner. I think there's going to be a lot of pets.com, And I know it's a bummer, you know, we didn't get enough Bitcoin, we didn't get $1 million or whatever. So everybody's looking for their new favorite altcoin to try to get $1 million. And we don't know which one it is. So if as long as you've got a good attitude and you're just investing casually, I think you'll be fine. Certainly, you got to make a big bet sometimes on these crazy altcoins to see if you can win. But keep it in a percentage. You know, I have about 80% Bitcoin, 20% crazy altcoins. Previously, I was at 90-10. Previously, I was at 99-1. So you can see I'm drifting that way with you. But I'm certainly not down in the 50-50s, and I'm not down 70-30 the other way. So be very careful with your investments. I do think Bitcoin's the one, but I respect your opinion. So.
Yeah, no, I agree that it's most likely that Bitcoin isn't just going to just win outright, possibly supported by a handful of other decent cryptocurrencies that don't share the market value. That is if Lightning Network succeeds. So a lot does hinge on the Lightning Network succeeding. So I think that's where a lot of the paranoia comes into, because I mean, if you just look at the state of the United States today, like it's really hard to trust institutions. I mean, that is the reason why Bitcoin was created in the first place. So we want to stay far away from the institutions. And when we see something like a company is funding this, et cetera, I mean, it's tough. I think that's why Bitcoin works, partially because Satoshi Nakamoto is anonymous. There's no one to trust there at all, and that's the system that he created, was a trustless system, and that's great. So it comes down to trust. Yeah, you're right. You got to protect your investments. I think Bitcoin is probably going to win it all outright. I want that to happen. That would be great. I think it's better money than what's ever been created, including gold, US dollar. So I'm extremely bullish on, you know, money being math, and I, you know, want to keep it that way. And so that's good. I think there's a lot of good debates out there, and I'm sure the chat's like blowing up, like Bcasher and.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I would say maybe as a homework assignment, especially if you have an Android phone, I think they have more advanced Lightning clients on there. I would just say as a homework assignment, go try to figure out the Lightning Network. Try to buy some stickers from that online shop they've got, you know, $5-10. You know, take some risks with it, you know, put it in Lightning and see how it goes. And just try it out. I think it's a lot more along the way than we might think, and that means it's a lot more closer to being mainstream and showtime. You know, we've been discussing Lightning Network for years. I saw him presented a couple of times at the San Francisco Bitcoin meetup, and when they were releasing the white paper and so forth about Lightning. I think it really is our best chance. I think it's much better than people think, and I would just suggest giving it a try, and then, you know, call us back, let us know how it goes.
Yeah, yeah, I'll look into it. One last question, and then I'll jump off. How long do you think we are from getting in a Lightning Network wallet or node on a cell phone?
Well, I know they have
on the App Store.
Sure. I know they have ones for Android that are out. I know there's a test version that's out for Apple. And I know that Zach Mahlers with the Zap Lightning wallet is working on iOS and desktop clients. So if I had to just take a guess, put it out there, I would say 3 to 6 months. I think we're looking really good. I don't know that it's going to be the easiest to use thing. It wouldn't be the final, you know, be all end all version. But I think there should be a passable one out there. I think that Apple has little or no reason to block it, unlike years ago when they did block Bitcoin wallets from their store. And I think it'll be approved. And once it gets to iOS, it enters all of my devices and it becomes easy for me to try out. So I'll definitely be doing that, and I hope to have you know, Zach on here and everything. But yeah, I would say 3 to 6 months, not long.
Yeah, I that's great. I think it'd be really cool to get a Lightning wallet and actually be able to use it at a Starbucks. That would be fantastic. So hey, you got a great show here. I'll hop off. Talk to you later.
Thanks so much for the call, and give us a call anytime, and go try out that Lightning. It's good stuff. So that was a pretty good call. I think the audience was mixed on it, but I think the audience came around. Sure, he's into Tezos. He wants to make some money. He's a bag holder, but he's not a bad guy. Doesn't mean anything by it, you know. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas, it's Dan Williams from Grand Rapids. How are you?
Doing good. I gotta add you on the new map. Oh, Grand Rapids, Ohio or
Grand
Michigan?
Rapids, Michigan.
Michigan. Oh, was the first one.
Yep.
There it is. We got the map.
Nice.
All right. So, what's on your mind about Bitcoin, or are you gonna buy into
Well-
Tezos too?
No, I actually recently just sold the small 10% stash of random altcoins that I had back for Bitcoin. And I think one of the things that I've been thinking about lately is, and maybe this is a generational thing, I'm not sure. I'm in my mid 40s, and I know nothing is free, right? Everything you have to pay for. Someone provides you a service or gives you a product, and they expect something for that in exchange. And so to me, this idea or expectation, and maybe it's the internet generation that has more expectations that things are going to be free. But this idea of no fees, instant, everything is going to be cheap and easy, and a censorship resistant, decentralized global store and transfer of value should be free, or near enough free that it's practically free. And I guess one of the things that I sort of think about is if you want to use that mechanism to buy things that don't require its properties, then maybe you shouldn't be using that mechanism. And I was doing a little tweeting, or I was on Reddit, and somebody asked me, they said, well, obviously you don't care that the Lightning Network is centralized. And whether that is true or not, to me, is besides the point, because I sort of think to myself, well, I really don't care if the money that I spend to buy my coffee is censorship resistant or not. And in fact, I've always thought to myself, if two Coinbase customers, for example, if I were sending my Bitcoins, if I stored them on Coinbase, which yes is centralized, but I could have a small portion of my Bitcoin on Coinbase, and I sent that to another Coinbase address, that should be free, essentially, right? Because that's essentially updating their database.
Sure. And I think it was free in the early days of Coinbase. They did used to do that. Yeah.
Right, because it makes sense, right? They're just updating their database. It's a centralized thing, and so it's that I don't mind if, let's assume, for example, the Lightning Network has some centralization to it. Antonopoulos says, well, it's this balance between free and fast and centralized. So let's just make the assumption that it is. Well, for the kind of payments that I would be making on the Lightning Network, I don't really care. The government's not trying to stop me from making those payments, and I don't want to pay for the value property of Bitcoin. In fact, it would be a bad idea. I think that's why a lot of people in first world countries are going, what's the point again? Because they already have a means of payment. They don't want to pay for the overhead of having to do this stuff, because the value proposition is not what they're after. So I guess my thought is that if people think about what it is that the fees that they're paying on Bitcoin are actually paying for, and do they need those things? I think it might help. It helped me anyway frame it in my mind where I think to myself, gee, I don't really care if the fees on the Bitcoin main network are $100 a transaction, because the only thing I'm going to buy on the main chain is like islands and Lambos. I'm not going to be doing these small payments on the main chain. And in fact, it's such a valuable resource that it to me, it's insulting to the network to say, hey, store this 10-cent purchase in a mutable, censorship resistant way for the rest of time, because I kind of expect everything to be free nowadays.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to unpack there. Part of it, yes, people do expect things to be free. I disagree with that. I think when something's valuable, we should pay for what it's worth. And sending Bitcoin is a valuable thing to me, and I do think it's worth spending money on. Like I was going to tell the last caller, if you don't like the Lightning Network, the great thing about Bitcoin is the Bitcoin network's still there. You can just pay more, and you can buy your coffee on there, and you can pay the fees. And if Bitcoin becomes much, much more popular, you're going to pay very large fees on your coffee, but it's still going to be censorship resistant and all the factors that you want from Bitcoin. I don't believe that the Lightning Network is centralized. I think that's FUD. But I do believe that the Lightning Network is probably less anonymous. Well, I don't know. It depends. It depends. It's a mixture, but it's
I
just
guess my point was too, is that I don't know if it would really matter even if it were.
well, I think part of this comes from, like, we need to go back to some basics here, and dirty money needs clean money, right? If I have dirty money and I want to get it clean, I'm going to need clean money. So that's why I've always questioned these systems like Dash Coin and Monero and Zcash and all these other things, because I figure you're just trading all of your dirty money with other money that's also dirty, and maybe you didn't use money from this crime, but they caught the money from that crime, and now they're on to you anyway, because you just swap dirty money for dirty money. So
Right.
part of
But
that
if it's
is,
all dirty, it might as well be clean. I mean, you can't
well,
differentiate then.
but I think that's why we have to have a system that blends a mix of the two. And this comes back to that old privacy argument that you don't need any privacy, and you're not doing anything wrong, so you don't need any privacy, so you don't have any privacy. But then one day, in a Philip K. Dick fashion, you do something wrong, something goes wrong, your life changes 180 degrees in one day, boom, and now you're wishing that you had some privacy. And you're thinking, that old poem comes to mind. They came for the cheesemakers, and I wasn't a cheesemaker, so I didn't care. And then they came for the bread makers, and then they came for everybody. I mean, we're going to be right there. So I think we do have to have kind of a brinksmanship
Well, and
to
what's
this, that
the
there's an edge.
about free speech? I can't quite remember it.
It's something that you don't know you need until you need it. I mean, it's one of those things, and I do agree with you that the first world is not the real place to be selling this. Starbucks, it's great they're taking Bitcoin, but you can pay there with your credit card or your dollar bills just fine now. It doesn't really affect you. The only way it would affect you is, like I'm saying, if you could get your Starbucks on sale, and then they're going to track you more, and you're going to get a discount, and you have to weigh those things if they're worth it. So there is a lot of trade-offs here.
Ironically, I was talking to the guy at the corner store who's actually he's a miner, and I said, I can't believe you haven't talked the owner into taking Bitcoin yet, and he said, yeah, you would be the only guy paying with stuff in it, and I said, and actually, I wouldn't want to give you any of my Bitcoin. Because I have too many other simple, easy options that, to me, all I would do is I would give him the Bitcoin, but then I'd have to run right out to Coinbase and resupply my Bitcoin, So that just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, so
It's much the same with Bcash right now. They keep trumpeting how many merchants are accepting it, and that has nothing to do with anyone actually using it. I tell people this story all the time, but there was a company years ago in San Francisco. They did exactly what I thought doing. They went door to door, convinced a bunch of businesses to accept Bitcoin, came back, gave them a free Android tablet with their software to accept the Bitcoin on, and then they walked away, and no one ever shopped there. All of these tablets got put on a shelf. They ran out of batteries. The employee that was trained to take Bitcoin quit the shop. And those Bitcoin accepted here stickers are still on the window, but they don't mean anything. It's a very difficult chicken and an egg problem. And I think at first we thought we were going to solve it with merchant adoption and with consumers. But I don't think that's the way we're going to solve it. It's going to be one of those everything happens at once. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of consumers, and all of a sudden, there's a bunch of merchants, and all of a sudden, there's just a ton of Bitcoin interest, and everything works itself out. And we don't know how to recreate it because we don't know how it happened in the past. And certainly our attempts on one side or our attempts on the other side, or even somebody out there that's doing both sides, are going to fail because it's just such a big problem with too many people. We need momentum, and we need to be, kind of a fad, right? We need to be very popular.
I'm curious because you're a history guy. I don't know. Do you know what the history of the telephone is? Because it could have been kind of a joke of mine to say, how do you sell the first telephone? I don't know. I don't know how telephones got popularized and into people's homes and how that network. Because if you're the person with the first telephone, you don't have anybody to call.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I don't know. I think it might be interesting to take a look at how telephones grew and were distributed and things like that. But
yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact history, but just guessing and off the top of my head from what I remember, certainly Graham Bell, his first call was to his assistant Watson, and they were in the same house, so it wasn't that useful yet. I think as far as with telephones, much like with roads or anything else, it's about the lines. So I think there were existing telegraph lines. I don't know for sure, but they might be able to piggyback on those or at least hang their wires from there. Much like electricity, it rolled out to certain spots first. Maybe the fire department or a police department would have a phone first. Eventually, they put down systems of phones where you could call the police from like a call box. Those were very early telephone type systems. And then eventually people would share them in their houses. They would have a party line and they would all share the phone, and it was super expensive. But everyone would pay their little percentage of the bill and so on and so forth. So in that way, maybe we should be sharing Bitcoin wallets. I don't know. But
well, I guess so kind of, I guess for a final thought, I would just, I would encourage people to think about what the value of what they're getting out of it is. So if it really is, if the value for you is simply a means of exchange, and you can just as easily give someone a dollar bill as you can send them a Bitcoin, and that's really the value that it has. You have options like, I don't know, there's it's not WhatsApp, it's some phone app, I can't remember what it is now.
sure.
You can give them $1. You can pay them with a check. You can, if they take credit cards, you can give them a credit card. You have tons and tons of options for a pure value transfer. And tons of cheap ones. So you have to weigh it against those tons of cheap ones. Now, if that person is on the other side of the planet, now you don't have as many options. And now you start to say, well, the Bitcoin network is now more valuable to me because I don't have other options, or the other options are more expensive. And thus the value of the Bitcoin network goes up in your mind. And thus the fees that you have to pay aren't as a big deal because suddenly it's starting to outweigh your options. If you're WikiLeaks and it's your only option, then the value of the Bitcoin blockchain is very, very high. So it's just one of those things where people get so focused on this value transfer, and it's like if you're the EOS network, which I actually think EOS is probably one of the more interesting projects, only because they're so honest about their centralization. You know, I heard an interview with one of the EOS guys, and he's like, "Yes, we're centralized. It's 21 nodes. That's what we do. We have tipped the scales to say we're okay with censorship, or we're okay with some limited censorship, or whatever you get from 21 nodes, because we want faster, cheaper transactions. And if that is what you want as an individual, then maybe what's right for you is exchanging value on the EOS network. So to me, it's all about having these options and saying, look, I am, if India is buying $1 billion worth of oil from Venezuela, I guarantee you they're not going to do it on the EOS network. But the Bitcoin network is actually a viable option for transactions like that. If I'm going to pay my buddy for his share of the dinner bill, then I can kind of use anything I want, because one, he and I have trust with each other. So he knows I'm not going to try and double spend him or something crazy like that. So that's not a problem. So all of a sudden, all of the problems that Bitcoin is trying to solve go away. And thus, you don't really need Bitcoin to make your payment. So yeah, I think it's important to remember what and where the value of the Bitcoin network is, and why you pay those fees. And if your transactions were free or nearly free, what is it that the network is being paid for then? It's just like with Facebook. When Facebook is free, but it's not. And people don't think of it like that. They say, gee, I don't have to pay a dollar value to get on Facebook. But what are you paying to be on Facebook? Where is the value? Why do they want your eyeballs on their webpage? And, you know, it's kind of like, it goes back to follow the money, I guess. And if it's not, if you can't follow the money by saying, here is the value that I am giving the person that is giving me the service or product, it's still hidden in there somewhere. You just don't know where it is, and you need to dig further, because it's there. You just don't know it. So yeah, there you go. There's my rant for the day.
Well, some good stuff. I definitely agree with you with Facebook. If you're not being charged for the product, or not being shown ads or something really available, the product is you, right? So that's a big part of it. I think when I use Bitcoin, I'm okay with paying the fees. I'm super excited actually to pay the fees. I don't mind it, because I am just so excited to use the Bitcoin network, to get this chance to use sound money and to put my money where my mouth is. And I've been
Well, and
saying
that's
I'm
the
against
value that
inflation.
you're getting from that transaction.
Sure, and that's a political value. It's not a monetary value. It's
Yep,
a emotional
absolutely.
value. I feel good about it, and it's also a long-term and a future value. I believe in the future, the world will be certainly different, and perhaps better with sound money. And it's not my choice. I didn't make the Bitcoin or anything like that, but I do believe that it's inevitable and that it's happening. And so I'm adapting to that, and I'm making choices and changes. And price wise, that might work out if Bitcoin becomes the great new world currency and so forth. But it also might not work out. So I think that's a big thing. And then as far as why use Bitcoin, certainly people have options on payment networks. Dollar bills and credit cards work fine in the developed world. And it's not really for us that the Bitcoin is there, but people politically want a different money. They want a different money. They want to change their lives. But to me, a lot of this comes back to the middlemen. A lot of what I've been doing kind of the whole time I've been using computers is getting rid of the middlemen. Open source, you want to get right to the software. If you have a problem, you can email the programmer. Sometimes they'll fix the software for you right there. Um, That's the kind of world that I want. I don't want any middlemen. When it came down to music or whatever, I want to give my money directly to REM. I want to give it directly to the band. When it comes to a movie, I would prefer to give my money directly to the movie. If I have to give it to a movie theater, if I have to give it to a blockbuster or something, they're going to take a cut and a percentage. And when it comes down to Bitcoin, I want to be able to use my money exactly how I want it. I don't want to give a percentage or whatever to a bank. So getting rid of middlemen has been a constant theme as we go through the computers, the internet, the MP3, the streaming video, and now the Bitcoin. Personally, my big use for Bitcoin has always been doing these shows. A long time ago, I saw Bitcoin. I saw how it worked with a QR code. And I said, golly gee, someone could scan that from anywhere in the world. Right now, we're showing our Tallycoin fundraiser. We've raised $143.91. I think Bitcoin's down a little bit, 0% towards our goal of $1 million. But right now, anywhere in the world, someone can scan this QR code and send us $5 or $10. And that's a feature that I don't get on dollars, that I don't get on credit cards. I could use Venmo. I could use PayPal. They could always freeze my money. They could always charge me fees. They're a middleman. So I just personally want to eliminate middlemen. I think they steal from the chain, and the chain becomes more efficient when we get rid of them. But as far as, like you said, EOS is okay, and EOS could be used for transfer. What's so neat about this is that you're celebrating EOS for being centralized and saying so, and we're driving all the Bitcoiners nuts with that idea, right? Because we hate that idea. But let's look at the other side of that coin and that chain, the hype, right? I didn't like Ethereum because it had unlimited units and they could always print more units. And I also thought that the whole trading ether to get gas thing seemed like a scam to me. That seemed like something that was written by lawyers, not technology people. And for those reasons, I didn't invest in Ethereum, right? And that's why I'm still poor and begging for donations, right? Because I didn't take a risk on that crazy altcoin. So much in the same way, we could look at EOS and we could say that it's totally centralized and that it's totally nasty, right? And we hate it. But at the same time, there are bankers out there, and there are people that like centralized things, and there are people that like Ripple because they think it's a bank coin, and so on and so forth. So there's a possibility that even though logically I don't like EOS and I don't like these things, that these crazy altcoins go up in value because of other people who think differently than us. And that there are enough of them out there, and there's enough hype, and there's enough things going on that even if technically and logically the projects are terrible, they turn out to be good. So that's the rub in all these altcoins. All of our logical thinking does us no good at the end of the day when the hype sets in. And the hype took that Ethereum from $10, which I thought was fair, to 100, to 300, to 1,300. And I sat on the sidelines the whole time watching and kind of quietly rooting against it and saying my own things and, giving my own opinions here. But as far as the price and the market,
things I haven't done, I would probably just die from reading the list.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah, don't look at any old wallets. Don't look at any old coin market caps or your selling history. Most of the exchanges have closed or lost their history, and I thank them for that because I don't want to see it. So,
and I sold a lot of Bitcoin in at the beginning of 2014 when it started crashing. And I freaked out. I bought at the top and sold at the bottom, and now wish I had held all the way through. But it's the lessons that you learn.
And you gotta adjust your risk. A while ago, I went more. At one point, I was 70-30 into fiat, and I was in a safe position. And then now I'm more 70-30 into Bitcoin, and I'm probably going to just keep that other 30% in fiat so that I have some money to spend, and I just don't have to worry that much. And everyone's got to find a safe position, and it's fun to have all your money in Bitcoin or to have all your money or all your investment capital or whatever into Bitcoin, some crazy altcoins or whatever. But it's certainly a risk, and you just have to adjust your risk and make sure you have enough money for next month's rent and the food bills. And now we're all getting gym memberships. But whatever it is, we've just got to have enough to keep going because, yeah, it's fun to have it all on the table, but it's also a risk because it's all on the table. So.
So I've just got two more quick things. One is I missed a couple episodes, and I was wondering if you ever got that typewriter.
Oh, I did. I got well, at first I was discouraged. The first typewriter arrived, the Royal Gray. It has a bit of a it needs a little bit of work. It doesn't quite bring up the ribbon right. It's a really complicated thing. The ribbon's got to rise up and then the thing goes through it. So that one doesn't work that good. I got the red Hunter S. Thompson typewriter, which they said was working when they shipped it to me, and now is not working. And it's a big, expensive electrical red typewriter. And then I got the Smith Corona that was recommended by Tom Hanks.
That was the Tom Hanks one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it's the oldest of the typewriters. So you're thinking, uh-oh, that sounds bad. And it wasn't that much. It was like $50 with $20 shipping. So it was like 70, close to $100. And I can say that I'm very surprised. That one works great. That one types really good, makes a nice typing sound. I don't have the ribbon on there quite right. Sometimes it hits the ribbon, sometimes it doesn't. And the J key sticks a little bit. But that one types like a champ. It's portable, it doesn't plug in, it's totally manual. And yeah, I need to show that one more on the show. Right now, I have them out in the garage. They're kind of seasoning. They have a bit of a smell to them. I uh, I got rejected when I brought the red one inside. My little brother was like, "No, no, that's got to go. I can smell it from here." And that one smells like mechanical oil, like electric typewriter smell. The other ones have a bit of an ink smell to them, but then they came in these beautiful old boxes, right? But the boxes, they're kind of padded a little and they've mildewed, right? So there's definitely something growing in these boxes, and the typewriters have a bit of a smell. But I have them outside in the garage in Las Vegas in the heat, and I hope that that's going to change everything and make it perfect. But I don't know. I could be causing more damage. I feel like I've started buying antiques, and they need a lot of care and concern. And I wish I just stuck with my fancy digital stuff that works or doesn't work. So, so
Well,
it's
you
been a
need
bit
to
of a trick.
explore life every once in a while, right?
That's it. And I watched that darn documentary, California Typewriter, and it got me all back into typewriters. And even though I have a typewriter at home, home is far away, and I don't have any typewriters in Nevada. And now I have three. So, oh
Well,
well.
you know what? And you can probably sell them for what you bought them for at least. So
I don't know. I was feeling the other way, man. I was feeling like I'm the only person in the world that would buy these things. And the minute they drove them off the lot, those guys were celebrating, and I'm the sucker holding a bunch of typewriters now. So
the candle for the Smith Corona chart just turned red.
yeah, yeah, I was the last one. They're like, yes, we got rid of that. That's the last one. Like, it's gone. And then yeah, I'm gonna have to pay people to take those. I'll take them to a charity. They won't even take them. I could tell. I can tell. I bought some big, heavy pieces of metal, but to me, they're like amazing little machines that actually do something. And I don't know. Maybe someday I'll show them to my friends' kids or something. Maybe they'll get a kick out of them. So.
I would take them, find a maker lab in your area. I bet they could fix those two that aren't working.
That'd be pretty good. Yeah, I don't. It's harder and harder because you search for typewriter repair, and it just comes up with all these fax machines and copy machines, and I'm like, yeah, they're gonna laugh me right out of that place.
Yeah, you find a couple makers in your area, they'll figure out how to 3D print whatever parts they need, and I mean that would probably be a super fun project for them to work on.
We also had a fun idea if we could get them working, either with one or perhaps all three of the typewriters. We were saying, hey, let's go, fly somewhere, and let's bring the typewriter with us on board. I guess I just thought of now. I just realized now that's never going to work in the 9/11 environment we live in. But let's assume that somehow we get through security and they let us have a typewriter on board. Wouldn't it be the funniest thing to pull that thing out and put it on that little airline tray and cha-ching, 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 you're typing on the airplane. And, I don't know. I thought it would be super fun, but now I'm afraid of security, so I'm not going to do it. But maybe on a bus or
And
something like that.
You could use it all the way through them asking you to put all your electronics away too.
Oh yeah, and the whole plane's gonna hear it. That thing just makes a ton of noise. Depending on which one I bring, it doesn't much matter. But yeah, I think it'd be super fun. Maybe go on a bus trip or even just in the back seat of a car. I don't know. They kind of fit on your lap, They're not very comfortable. It's not a
But
laptop.
isn't that the point? So my last point, because I'm probably, people are waiting to get online with you and stuff, but my last point is that I DM'd you on Twitter about the Bukowski book, so I wanted to thank you for the Bukowski book. I did DM you another question. There was I thought it was you that read the poem about the traffic, and I thought it was Bukowski. And he complains about how horrible the traffic is and how horrible the people in traffic are. And then at the end, he says, "I'll see you there tomorrow."
That does sound
like that.
that sounds pretty good. That sounds like Bukowski or something.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
No, I was gonna say the only other poem I read was that one in The Nation a couple of days ago where they were banning it, but that was more about a homeless person, and how to beg. It was kind of a begging advice poem. But yeah, the traffic one. I'll see you there tomorrow. It might. I mean, it sounds a little like Philip K. Dick or maybe Harlan Ellison, who passed away recently, but I don't know that he writes poems. If I read poems, it would pretty much be Bukowski, because I don't have anything else here at the house. So.
Okay. When I find it, I'll let you know.
All right. Well, I'll look through and maybe I'll flip through, but also I've been finding these poems by using that whole flip through the book randomly approach. So I don't really ever know where I've come from or gone with these quotes. I'm usually just picking them up. But it was great that somebody was interested in poetry. I get some negative comments there, but I keep doing it because I figure even if you don't, it's like medicine. You got to take it because it makes you feel better. So even if people don't like poetry, it'll like come around to them eventually.
And in our culture, we've completely lost serendipity, right? We only consume that which we've specifically asked to consume. And I think that having a little bit of serendipity in our Bitcoin show, and God forbid something is not about Bitcoin, I feel like that's okay. Because if all you get is everything exactly as you've asked for it, then you're walking through life with blinders. So I appreciate it, by the way. But yeah, thank you for everything you do. Everybody pound that like button. Let other people find this, and for gosh sakes, send Thomas a donation or two. All right. Okay. So thanks, Thomas. I appreciate all you do for Bitcoin.
Well, thanks so much, Jan. And I think that's a great point to end on, that we need some serendipity into our life, and we need some random things. And what I like about the random things, especially the book quotes, like this morning, I thought, okay, sorry, Dan, but I thought this morning, okay, we'll get a daily ritual because we're talking about Starbucks and coffee. And I randomly flipped through and I found that Balzac quote where he was addicted to coffee and he was drinking 50 cups a day. And I was like, perfect, zap, I'll read him about Balzac. And I found this a long time ago in my history classes. We were studying like French history around the Revolution, right? And in the same time in my English class, we were reading books from the period of the French Revolution. And this is one of the first times that education really worked for me. And I was reading the books of the period while I was studying the history of the period. And I was really getting it from both sides. I was getting it from the people who lived there, who actually experienced, and I felt like they did because I was reading the same books and thinking the same thoughts. And then I was getting it from the top down view of the historians who went back afterwards and tried to figure out what happened. And these two things came together, and it was a real moment of learning for me. And it was again why I always quote that Henry Fool line. It's a good movie. It's a questionable movie. I'm not saying you're going to love it, but you might learn something from it. It's an independent movie by Hal Hartley. And in Henry Fool, he says, "I do not discriminate between modes of knowing." And of course, Henry's using this to defend himself, reading a pornography mag and learning about pornography. But in the same way, I don't like to discriminate between modes of knowing. If I can learn something from a history book, if I can learn something from a celebrity book, or if I can learn something from a TV show, I try to learn it. And I try to put it in with all the other things I've learned and find comparison, find things that agree with each other, find things that disagree. Quentin Tarantino movies are very different than Mr. Rogers films. What if I could find a point they agreed on? Something like that. That's what I find with learning and knowledge, and that's what I think we should all be looking for, even when we're out there in Bitcoin, trying to learn these things. Like maybe I was wrong on the price of Ethereum. Maybe I'll learn my lesson with the price of EOS and Stellar. Who knows? Maybe I'm wrong on the goofy altcoins now, and now's the time to be a Bitcoin maximalist, and I take it on all these altcoins. I don't know, but I'm going to try to learn from it. And if conditions change, I'm going to change based on the new information that I'm able to bring in. And I like to bring in information from all over the place. I know people wanted me to hang up on the Tezos guy, but I think we had a good conversation and we both learned something. And I don't know if he's still going to have, 100% bags full of Tezos, or if he's going to go 80-20 and cover himself a little, or 60-40. But we all need to make our decisions, and we all need to come together and learn. I think we need to learn, and we need more serendipity, like Dan said. So go out there, learn something random today, connect two disparate thoughts and ideas together, and then tell me about it tomorrow, because we'll be back again tomorrow. I didn't write the Bitcoin group. I went to the meetup. The week keeps getting away from me. I'm doing a bad job scheduling, but at least I'm doing 2 or 3 hours of Bitcoin talk show every morning, so we can chat and have a good time. So make sure to give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below if you haven't already. As always, you can donate to our Tallycoin fundraiser right here, or our Patreon campaigns. The links are in the description down below. I'm pretty sure we started early, like 8:30. So we might even be above 2 hours. We might be talking 3 hours here. So thanks so much for joining us on this epically long Bitcoin talk show. I'm tired. I'm going to go take a break. Hope you guys have a great day. And we won't be able to get Starbucks with Bitcoin today, but maybe soon. Maybe soon. Until next time, bye-bye.